rub. There's no indication of, thankfully, indica whatsoever. So
Yeah,
my
we
kind of
were
weed.
we're wondering what have happened with those Kerala Thai Pakalolo, because I was like, man, there's a couple of guy that made seeds from it or had it.
Oh,
So
I know. I know.
I
we'll see
thought
it back at one point, right?
I don't know if you guys saw this. He posted this on Hash Church too, but Etienne posted these at the USDA weed
Uh-huh.
grow, and they have this ground cover cultivar that like popped up. Like, look at that! Isn't that crazy?
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Really
I've seen
safe
it one
too.
time before, something like that.
Yeah,
They
That's
always stay
outrageous.
low, 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 and
I
That's
saw one
outrageous.
plant like this in Thailand, but that was it. But it was neat to see.
yeah,
That
that's funny you say that because the stuff I talk about is an hybrid
Really
of
cool.
Thai that was like that too. So I guess it's in the Thai genetic then. I don't know.
that's way cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I just thought that was neat.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was still some phenotype of wild stuff like that that plant was so diverse on all the possibility that it could adapt to a different environment that it doesn't surprise me that now there's all those different crops, those autoflower, those 16-week flowering, whatever, but we won't see as much of those longer flowering plant or stretchy long plant in indoor being
Well,
produced for us. So,
thank God, because you don't want real weed. Get a carbon copy, and just reproduce the shit out of it 100 times. I mean, does the world need another gelato? Really? Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not. We could probably take it a couple other directions.
Almighty.
well, the most funny cross I've seen was about the Skittle. The guy was saying, I really love that weed, but I would let other people grow it and I would smoke it. And I've heard that thing with different stuff. Like the one guy was saying, "Oh, I really enjoy the A's." I think Chad Whisper that was saying that. Oh, I really enjoy the A's, but anything over 60 day, it doesn't have its place in my tent. And I was like, "Well, if you got anything over 60 days, I will take it then."
I
Because
tell you what,
everyone will grow those shorter flowering
see,
anyway,
I,
so I
I
don't
would,
need to.
I would be on the other side of that fence. I wouldn't grow anything that wasn't over 60 days. Actually, make that 80.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
But
All the myths that were created in Holland in the late 80s, with they were in charge of shit. And so all these magical things that just don't make any sense. Like every plant, you have to flower it at 12 hours, 12 on and 12 off. God damn it.
yeah.
Well, don't ever look at the sun patterns in the main area production areas around the world. That might, trip you up there, cupcake. And you know, hell, now you can
Yeah.
use Chat GPT or even Copilot, I guess. You could ask, what's the typical daylight photo period around the world from this latitude to that. You know what I mean? Just use a little common sense. But no, no, no. It says right here in my book, written by George Cervantes, formerly known as
12
George
and
Van George
12.
Van Patten. Yeah,
Flowering is 12 and 12, Jim. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, that's
Well,
right. Yeah.
yeah. I'll tell you a story about a strain that we had over here back like about 20 years ago that was more common. That strain, when the tests have been done, it was finishing under 14 hours of light, no problem. No,
Yeah.
like the only thing was the plant was getting a bit bigger before it entered really in flowering phase, but they had no problem to flower completely under 14. The test of over 14 and the one over 13 hours were only a difference on the morphology of the plant. The yield was really similar, But if we were going at 12, the plant was more small for that one and flipping earlier. So the total flowering time was shorter, but the total yield, if I can say, was a tiny bit smaller. It was just shorter time before it really entered in full flowering. So the only
I
thing
did.
that was good for breeding that strain outdoor was to be sure that it starts flowering when it's the right timing here, because by the time it's 12, we're in September. And September, it should be like another month, and like maybe early October, it should be done over
Okay.
here. You
So
know,
here's
so
what
if they don't start to flower at 14, you may get into trouble, and you know.
here's what I do. I do the first 3 weeks at 12, 12, 12. The next 3 weeks I do, excuse me, 13, 9. I'm sorry, 11, 11, 13. Then the next 3 weeks I go 10, 14. It's not rocket science, you know? Uh, anyway, whatever.
Mostly with the latitude that you were talking, the Kandahar is from. Yeah, I've seen something really similar for Pakistani strain from
Right.
just beside, if I can say, they got different morphology, but really similar reaction to those fitter periods. So,
Yeah.
but
I just got asked the other day, you don't use sugar in the flower cycle? No, I don't. Why?
Neither do
Well, how do you get your buds sweet? I don't even want to talk about it, you know? What, do I need honey or, what the fuck? I mean, how about some flavored yogurt? Would that work? I mean,
I
or,
think it helps if you eat the honey while you're watering the plants,
yeah, Jesus
then it might
Christ.
actually do something.
A little bit of light sugar will help you just process the nutrients that are in the soil, but it's not gonna like the sugar doesn't go from
I
your
know.
solution into the thing. It
It's
will cause a bacteria bloom just to burn through the rest of your nutrients, but it,
sure.
it doesn't accumulate sugars like people think
Mm.
it does, which is hilarious because people go by that. What's the nectar of the gods is like a bud swell that's sugar, and there's a couple others that are just
Oh yeah,
yeah,
generals got their pineapple one, their cherry one, their oh yeah,
I
no
wish,
no
I
no.
but
wish you guys would have known.
pineapple like breaks down proteins, right? That's why like when you eat pineapple, it's like breaking down the flesh of your mouth. That's why it tingles and stings.
Yeah.
Like why would I don't
Well, it's,
understand putting that on plant. I've
well,
never heard of pineapple.
it's bromelain is
Bromelain,
the
that's
yeah.
it.
enzyme. Okay. Not an enzyme, but bromelain, and that's used in, well, there's all kinds of medical uses for it. It's also used to ferment plants. You don't have to use labs. You can use, for example, from green, not ripe, but green papayas, they extract papain. Papain is widely used as a fermenting agent. And then also, then in young green pineapples, you get bromelain. Now, as the fruit matures, the level of bromelain is used up. But I could see where somebody read something about bromelain and said, I know, we'll just go get maybe a can of Dole pineapple, which probably is not even from, but never mind. Anyway, so yeah, I know the drill. You can actually extract, let's say you had a material like, say, true humic acid, not some bullshit from the brown crap from China, but honest to God, rock, humic acid rock. And if you were to mill that down to say 0.25 or even 0.5 millimeters uh, size, and then you could use bromelain or papain or a combination of those, and you could extract the fulvic acid from that humic acid. But please don't tell Stoner Bob because there'll be a run on Dole pineapple cans, and I mean, first you got to find the rock. First, you got to find a legitimate source of humic acid, the rock, and those are closely guarded secrets by the companies that offer these. Well, some of them are just pulling shit and calling it humic acid, but like Dr. Frost, his sources were always kept under tight. I didn't even know what state it was, so I never asked either because it's none of my business. But I
He
just know
uh
there was.
he lives not too far from me. We all should get together one day.
Oh, he's great, man. What a genius. You know, to imagine that. Okay, think about this, especially because you're younger than this, so it might make even more of an impact. But in 1971, he was working with a doctor, Dr. T.L. Sen, SENN, who is considered the father of modern marine biology and the study of marine biology. And he wrote the first book, Seaweed in Agriculture. And in that, it's a long history of kelp, brown kelp specifically, over the green and red varieties and how they've been used for a number of things in medicine, uh, fertilizers, livestock feed, what have you. But anyway, they were extracting humic and fulvic acid from fresh kelp in 1971. Imagine that. You know how few botanists knew what the fuck humic acid was? And here these two guys were pulling stuff out of the Atlantic. And because Dr. Sed's office, he worked at the University of us in South Carolina. God damn it, big horticulture school. Anyway, that's where his laboratory or place of study or work was there at the university. And so, and Dr. Excuse me, he had gotten his degree in '58. Uh, the founder of BioAg. So he was like basically 3 years into his, you know, serious study. He earned his PhD, and now he was out collecting real data, on things. And so they were looking into the possibilities of how to activate the growth patterns and especially fruiting patterns with humic and fulvic acids. And basically, it was an unknown science. It hadn't been modernized yet by the cannabis industry. So, yeah, I put it on my stuff. Okay.
Have you ever heard of like Dr. Dijkstra? Or I guess he's not doctor, it's Dijkstra. I don't remember his name, but anyways, he's the one that pushes the whole high bricks make your plants immune to everything,
Oh yeah. No,
which
I
is
I
just
don't. I
okay.
stay away from. I
Because
get enough of that.
Elaine
As a
Ingham's regurgitating it now, and it's like, well, if all you had to do is make your bricks high to make your plants immune, people would just spray like liquid sugar and molasses on their crop and call it a
Jesus
day.
Christ.
And then your bricks is high, and then your plants are magically immune, right? Like it's just so bullshit. But it was really surprising to see Elaine pushing it of all people.
Well, never mind.
Oh no,
I
it's
was,
fine. I think she's kind of gone off the deep end at this point. She was awesome for a long time, but I think she's gone too far.
well, the worst canard ever. I mean, fucking ever, was this crap about high fungal teas being able to be used to arrest and control pathogenic fungi, which is horse shit. You can spray fucking tea on your plants every goddamn day, and that's going to have zero impact on whether it's going to be hit with pathogenic fungi. I mean, come on, you live in the same kind of climate
Yeah,
that I do.
yeah.
Hey, when it hits in the Northwest, and basically where I would consider Humboldt part of the Northwest,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, get out there with your high fungal teas and let me know how that works.
Well,
Yeah.
when in Thailand, for instance, we put down IMO, which is actually physically putting, bits of fungal material into the pots when we did our soil in the beginning. And if you have
Sure.
a high fungal content in your roots, it will make your plants more resistant. But like
Of
you're saying,
course.
compost tea
Of
is all
course.
bacteria and archaea. There's very,
Exactly.
very tiny amounts of fungi at all in compost tea, even if you use
Right.
all kinds of different,
Exactly.
even
And
if you
the other
liquefy
thing,
mycelium.
and if you let it go too long, you end up getting extremely high levels of protozoa, which is, things. Here's my read on things. Like I was involved in these teas like uh, 2006. So what are we at? Is that like 18 years? Okay. I never saw a fucking thing, not one single benefit, not one that would compare with starting with the good materials like true, honest to God earthworm castings, not wiggle worm from the grocery store, with honest to God Canadian sphagnum peat moss and rock dust. And I'll go up against any of these fucking programs on any level of bet you want. I mean, botany is botany. Cannabis growers did not reinvent the wheel because they stuck a goddamn seed in some soil and it grew and they got all excited. Botany is a science. It's not a fashion that goes in and out. Well, today we're going to be doing compost teas, and tomorrow we're going to be doing, I don't know, you know, what do you call it? Equian urea, horse piss, and then we'll move to bovine excrement. Compost. You need compost. You need humus. You need stuff that's been processed by microbes, not a factory. Putting something in a bottle and putting a cool label on it and calling it dipshit, Shinola sativa food or something. Like people saying they're craft growers. So does that mean like they use Velveeta and they
Right?
melt it down and smear their buds on it? Look, I'm a
Little
craft grower.
little ranch dip.
Oh yeah, little
Yeah.
ranch, little Thousand Islands on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Uh, somebody mentioned the plant health pyramid. That was mostly pushed by John Kemp. John Kemp is an eighth grade education, and he
Well, that
also
helps.
regurgitates Dr. Dijkstra's stuff.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. He's just kind of regurgitating the same BS that a lot of these other guys are, and
Well,
it's
see,
just
it
not
makes,
true, right? Like again, going back
but it
to
makes
like the
sense.
other,
In the mind of a stoner, it makes sense. If I like sugar and it's sweet to me, therefore, if I give it to a plant, the plant will take it up and manifest that sugar, which is what? Carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. It's not going to get deconstructed. I mean, really? In what world do these people live in? In what fucking world do these people live in?
The only thing that I've seen that it could help, like Steve was explaining earlier, is like the bugs, the bacteria
Yes.
just
Okay.
like it for a
I'll
while,
buy
but it's the
that.
only thing that it's doing. It's
I'll buy
just,
that. But we got to get back to cation exchange.
yeah,
And it's
right.
the plant that dictates what ions are called up. Plants use ions, not molecules.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Plants can't use. If it were that way, then all you'd have to do if you wanted iron in your soil, you stick a fucking nail in this soil and go, I got iron in my soil. It's right there. See? And here I got a penny. Now I got copper. Okay, well it's
we got more zinc than copper, but
yeah, I know. Yeah.
I was just
so
thinking at
Hybrid,
the old barn that have some nail all over, and you're sure that it's gonna grow better, but you don't realize it just because of all the manure that have spread around the barn. Yeah, sometimes we make some funny twisted link, but the more I know about
Hey,
how the plant works, the less I understand how I've been able to grow
okay.
well
All right.
plant before.
Here, here's botany 101 for you. Okay. So we add materials to the soil and microbes deconstruct those molecules, and now you have atoms or ions, whatever term you're comfortable with. Okay. Plants exude materials out of their roots that trigger specific microbial responses to call up microbes as needed. So just because little Joey Stoner thinks that if I add all this phosphorus, it'll make it bigger buds, just dumping the phosphorus does not necessarily mean that the plant's going to take it up, or if it does, it's going to damage the root system. You're throwing everything out of balance.
Phos has to be P2O4 to be plant available.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying though. But these are not these are not. I don't know what people think. I mean, these are living organisms that function, and we're here before the humans. We're here before animals. There was a plant kingdom before there was an animal kingdom. And having said that, humans were at the tail end of the goddamn animal kingdom.
Those plants must have
Okay.
been starving without all them bottles.
Yeah. I mean, how did they get along for how many billions of years without, the grocery store and their magical swill?
well, the
Fucking
picture
A.
I got
Well,
there,
like,
it's one feed with bottle with low regiment, so we can see that if you just don't feed enough, it look like shit.
No, but here's an idea. Here's an idea. Rather than focus on feeding,
Yeah,
why not focus on building the soil that can function as a soil and not just a bucket of dirt?
yeah,
And if you
and
go
soil
into it
is
with the
long
mindset,
lasting. Yeah,
if you go into the project with the mindset, well, all I got to do is get bottles A, B, C, and D from these whatever company this week's hot button is, okay, then you're fucked. You'll always have mediocre gardens, or you just grow commercial shit. And if that's your goal, that's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's how your tomatoes are grown. They're grown hydroponically. Fuck, they don't have any flavor.
Sure don't.
Hot hothouse cukes don't have any flavor. They don't need
yeah.
to. You're going to put salad dressing on it.
The
You're
first
not going to
cocoa
eat it
grow I've
raw.
seen was with tomato, on
Right.
so they were
It came
using
out of
cocoa.
Holland.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where all the hydroponic production started, was in the 70s.
Yeah. They were
Okay.
starting the tomato plant in Rockwool and
Right.
then putting it
Yeah.
over
They still do. We have
cocoa.
it here on the West Coast in Vancouver, BC, British Columbia.
Yeah,
Dutch companies were contracted to build the same deal, and now they sell them as hothouse tomatoes. Like, yeah, they don't have any flavor. They look beautiful. They're gorgeous. But if you eat one, you're like, compared to what you grow in your garden. But
Yeah,
see,
they're not
it's all
picked by
about
they're not picked
looks.
for flavor. No, and not just looks. It's looks and how it ages on the shelf. If it
Right.
if it lasts
yeah.
if it lasts long on the shelf, man,
Legs.
that thing's more valuable than anything
Right.
else. Like there's
But
In
less
the produce
throwaway.
industry,
yeah.
they refer to that as legs. When you talk about a commodity, the first question that at the commercial level is, well, what kind of legs does it have? In other words, when does it break down? Like raspberries, you never touch raspberry. You want to lose your ass? Take a load of raspberries and start breaking down in 36 hours and try to get a load out of Salinas, California to New York City. Good luck.
Yeah, there is more election job than trying to send the strawberry.
But even let's say you take regular tomatoes. But by that I mean grown in the ground, like Florida is a big tomato during the winter. Okay, they're not picked ripe; they're picked green. In fact, that's what they're called in the industry as gassed greens, because you're going to gas them with ethylene gas to bring on the ripening. So you don't the fruit isn't even developed when you pick it. So how are you going to have flavor? And now you're going to artificially bring on the color. And in rooms, in high pressure rooms, that's how they do bananas too. Uh, uh,
Yeah, at the
ripening
warehouses,
rooms.
they have a
Yeah, at the
ripening room
warehouses.
in
Yeah,
'em.
at the
At the
distribution. Yeah,
warehouse,
ripening rooms.
they move them all in, they gas them
Yep,
all, and then they roll
yep,
them all out. Like,
yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
They do
once
it with
once and once they start that
avocados.
process, there's no stopping it. That's it. Yeah.
They do that with avocados. They do it with tomatoes. They do it with bananas, especially. Do you know that in a grocery store chain, like, whatever your big market is, it doesn't matter. U.S., Canada, same thing. In this regard, The number one leading item in the produce department is bananas because every culture eats bananas. And so it's so big that it's usually set up as a sub corporation for tax reasons. That's how big it is.
Oh,
And I mean, I worked for a warehouse. We used to have, okay, a load was 40 pallets. No, I'm sorry, 20 pallets. Let's see here, 48,000. We sold close to 250,000 pounds a week of bananas. Just bananas.
okay.
Schools, grocery store chains, uh,
Pretty much
Costco
everything.
at one time in their early days before they got so big. Fuck, they needed us like, we're by the and not and today you want to deal with Costco, man. You better be set up.
Well, and then too, like people don't understand why that hydro plant tastes worse, right? Why does that hydro tomato taste worse? Because there's no microbes to activate the secondary metabolite genes in the plant. That's
Right.
why like your living soil and
Exactly.
aquaponics both
Yep.
taste 10 times better than hydro because you have many different microbe species activating those genes in the plant that trigger the secondary metabolites. It's why like genome sequencing cannabis plants without knowing the grow method is more or less pointless from a data standpoint because you don't know how those genes were activated, right? You can see
That's
if they're
right.
on or off, but you don't know how to replicate that without that piece
That's
of
right.
information. And it's why things like phylos and stuff, while cool, are like in terms of a data set, are pretty useless. Whereas things like medicinal genomics, where you actually have the endophytes mapped out and the grow method labeled and at least some information on it is significantly better. I
Yeah,
think that's
because
one of the
for
coolest. I think that's one of the coolest things about the medicinal genomic database. They're about the last 1,000 plants or so that they've put in there of their 4,000 or whatever it is, have the genomic sequencing for the microbiome. So like which microbes were also sequenced in that root material or bud material or leaf material, which I thought was really cool.
So what you think about some people that search the skunk by having a different nutrient content in the soil that could help it to express better, or because I found
So
it quite strange for me. If I'm testing a plant indoor or outdoor, there's a difference on how the plant smell because of the climate. If it's still in the same pots than it was in indoor with the same nutriment
so
or the same compost.
with skunk compounds, those are sulfur bound compounds, right? So you definitely would want to run
Yeah.
higher sulfur for chasing that, but simply having higher sulfur is not going to necessarily make it express, right? Like you have to
But
find
that's
those
what I mean.
genetics
Yeah.
wherever they may be. And
You need the
part of
climate,
me
you
too
need the
wonders,
soil.
if there wasn't a component of pesticides that's a factor in that as well, because
Perhaps,
there's
but
definitely
you know what
flavors.
sulfur was removed around the same time skunk disappeared was sulfur out of diesel.
Well, the sulfur burners were also made illegal around the same time that skunk disappeared.
What? They are illegal?
Sulfur burners have been illegal for over 10 years in the US in all but like one
Fuck.
market or something like that. But yeah, they've been illegal for quite a while in the US. They're still around. You can buy them used and shit, but they're officially illegal for agricultural production and by the USDA and have been for quite a while.
No, yeah, there's a guy that I knew that was doing a treatment just before he switched to flowering. And everybody was saying, "Oh, well, you cannot make ash with this weed." Yeah, I guess so. It
Have you
tastes
ever
like
made hash
matches.
from stuff that's been sprayed with sulfur? It tastes like match heads.
Yeah,
It
man.
tastes horrendous.
We've just smelled the kif, and nobody wanted to even try it. They were like, "No, that's like not normal that you have it in the kif. So no, no thanks. Like, leave it like that." I was like, "Why are we smoking the flower then?"
Yeah, it tastes like smoking a box of matches. It's awesome.
Yeah, the flour not tasting as bad than that, but it was in there too, so I was like,
Hey,
I would
hey,
prefer not.
hey, Wes, could you share that picture and turn it uh 90 degrees for me? I just put in the chat.
It's funny for me that all those different theory about how you affect the smell, because you need, for I think, a combination of what triggered the second metabolite. You need a good uh, climate that will the plant want to breathe well in that climate. It may not be the best for your yield, but it will be the best for how the plant is, affecting those terpene and taste, whatever.
All right, look at that. Salt, flour, water. Period. Oh, sourdough culture, which is flour and water with microbes.
Yeah, with yeast.
The part that is the best is, where if did the cut on the top, how it just
Uh-huh.
tear
That's
apart.
called the ear. That part that sticks up.
Okay,
That's called after the cut is called the ear. I don't know why, but
but
that's the
that give
term.
an idea how the texture of the bread is, and yeah, I like it.
Well, see, this was an experiment. The one on the left was done in a French cloche. Emile Henry, they've been around for about 175 years. It's ceramic base with a dome. And so you cook it in that. And so gave it see how dark and consistent the color is? Okay, the other loaf was baked in a cast iron Dutch oven,
Okay.
and I preferred that style myself. I like there's some darker areas and some lighter areas. That's just a personal preference. Other people like the more chestnut look on the lip. But either way, I mean, they're both wonderful. The flavor is outrageous.
That's just flour, salt, water,
Yeah.
yeast.
I like the comment of Lone Star saying a solid looking loaf. I just use a cast iron combo cooker like peasant. You're
Right.
cooking like a peasant. Well, that's exactly what worked, dude.
Well, what you do evil is you take your like a Le Creuset, we'll say for example, and you put that in the oven and you take it up to 500 Fahrenheit and you preheat it for like 30 minutes and you want that motherfucker hot. Okay. And then when you drop the dough in, you put the lid on and then you drop it down to 400 and down to 450, and then you take the lid off and now you let it go for 20 to 30 depending how brown you want it. It's that simple. I mean, it doesn't require, like it's water and flour and salt. Yeah.
The flour make the world difference, because I've got
Well, yeah.
gift some
Yeah.
flour from the shop. I think it was Robin Hood. It wasn't
Yeah, I know.
too bad,
Canada
but
has Robin Hood flour, the Canadian that comes out of Manitoba,
yeah,
is considered one of the premium flours in North America. I
but
mean,
it's good, but it's not as good than some smaller company that
well,
the more.
that's always true.
It's just a
But
different taste.
well, you have to. Okay, again, we're back to microbes. What makes bread good, gives it flavor, gives it texture, gives it structure, is the activity of microbes. Primarily yeast, which is a single, in this case, is a single-celled fungi. But then you have labs in there, lactic acids, bacteria that provide flavor, deconstruct. There's the amylase breaking down the sugars, and the holes in bread. That's from the air exhaled. I mean, yeah, the intake air, use the oxygen, and expel CO2. That's where carbonation comes from. It gets carbonated, see? Carbon dioxide. These concepts aren't difficult. They're made to sound mysterious or that, you're doing something special.
Yeah.
In this case, you're increasing, and how do you increase the microbes in there? Well, first of all, you want long, slow ferment, gives you flavor. If it takes 2 to 3 days to go from water and flour to now it's ready to mix it in more water and flour to make a dough, then that's what it takes. A lot of that depends on the temperature in your home, how warm you keep your kitchen. I even have a miniature refrigerator. Well, it's not a refrigerator, it's a heater with a door. It looks like a miniature refrigerator. It's just for keeping sourdough culture at the right temperature, so I don't have to stick around with it.
I'm just a glutard over here. I can't eat bread.
You know what's interesting? Are you celiac or just gluten intolerant?
Uh, I've never been diagnosed with celiacs, but I get pretty violently ill from any amount of flour at this
Oh, I'm
point.
not questioning it.
Wheat flour.
The reason I'm saying is that American wheat,
The
and
glyphosate.
well, setting that aside just for a minute, if you can imagine that the majority of the world's wheat is grown in America, we're talking, this is a big fucking industry. I mean, if you went to France and bought bread from a baker, the chances that it was American wheat are pretty high, extremely high. Canada also, Robin Hood is the retail name, but Canada has an interesting approach. I say that as an American, that's a stupid thing to say. They have a different approach to business than America does, and that isn't good or bad. It's just different. Uh, like they're well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, it is so hybridized. What people find is that when they go to Europe and eat the breads there that are made with heirloom wheat like einkorn, spelt, uh, kamut, emmer.
That's the Canute, my favorite. When you tell that
Stone
one,
wheat. Stone wheat doesn't have it. I used to be able to, and when I lived in Colorado, I could buy stone wheat flour, and that is
Right.
has no detectable gluten in it, and that doesn't bother me. It's not the wheat plant itself; it's just gluten.
Right. It's amazing, and also sourdough because that you're letting the bacterial and fungi activity. Because remember, a good sourdough, there's as much as 20 different varieties of labs. I mean, you want to talk diversity. Um, when it's really active and you're maintaining it correctly. See, I grind my own wheat, so I'm taking berries, organic berries, and I have a stone mill that mills it and makes flour. So
uh,
you're working with real food for the microbes.
when it's freshly milled, I'm pretty sure you can taste it in the bread after that.
Oh
Gotta
yeah,
be,
yeah,
oh, it's gotta
oh
be
yeah,
like fresher bread. Just, yeah, the difference between fresh brought bread and store bought bread.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I bet you it's the same again. I bet you the freshness of the grain. Uh,
Because like the just the flour when
yeah.
I've bought a bag that was milled like whatever the wheat have been grown by a guy I've made and when we've talked it together he was saying like, oh, I'm doing most of it for a brewery that they were having some wheat and something they had a
Hmm.
couple things that they were doing for them and the rest of the production was going in flour. So he say, "Oh, look at that company! They got some of our stuff." And when I've bought it, I was like, "Oh, it tastes like the bread when I was kid." And Like it just tastes really different than the other type of bread. I'm not saying all the bread sold in shop is all bad. No, there's some that's not
Well,
that bad, but
A
it
lot
just
of it, a lot
yeah,
of it is though. A lot of it
yeah,
is. A
but
lot of
real
it
bread,
has. A lot of it has a preservative that's made with human hair, man.
shit. But
I
real good bread that is like old fashioned bread, it just like I don't need anything else on it. I just heat the bread
okay.
and take a bite on it. It just
I'm
tastes
not.
like more sugary.
I'm not picking on Wes, but I want to use him as an example. I met Wes about 3 or 4 years ago, and I taught him or told him how you want to phrase it, how to make pizza dough.
Oh yeah, you did.
How fucking stupid and easy it was. I mean,
Made
and
me a hero.
people charge for this, kind of thing. I when I see it in a store, fresh pizza dough, $10. I'm like, my God, man, we're talking about flour, yeast, and salt and water, right?
Couple
But
minutes.
anyway,
Yeah.
so the cost of making a pizza is a nothing. What, a can of crushed tomatoes from some San Marzanos from Italy and a little bit of Parmesan. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think it's the cheese that costs the most on all of it.
Well, it's all
Must
of
be
it,
a,
but when you make pizza, because usually what happens, like you make a batch of dough. Well, and maybe not in Wes's house because he has more kids. I'm just for me, and it's just my wife and I.
The wolves
But you're
descend
not
upon
you're
it.
you're not gonna eat all that dough in one night, so that by the time you get to the end of the batch, the dough's been in the refrigerator, slow fermenting. So the flavor of the air quotes old dough is far
It
superior
is
than
yeah,
the fresh
absolutely.
dough, if that makes sense.
And it seems to get way more elastic longer you let it
Yes,
go.
right.
Yeah. But
Okay, here's a little secret for you. Before you add the yeast or salt, no, it's the salt. One of the things about salt is that yes, it does add flavor. That's true. It also puts a brake on the yeast and the microbes. That's how you preserve stuff, right? You want to
yeah,
preserve
yeah,
fish,
yeah.
you salt it. Okay, so you withhold the salt and you let that dough and the yeast and you let it work for even overnight. Then you add the salt. Okay, and you don't have to worry about just keep folding it, stretching it, and folding it over and over. Don't worry, it'll get worked into into the dough. And you'll see then that when you bake that bread or that pizza dough, that you'll have that structure with all the holes,
Yeah.
if that's what your goal is.
Oh,
So
absolutely. The air
yeah,
pockets and the
yeah, exactly.
and the
Okay.
crunch of the crust and absolutely those
Right.
are all the gold.
See, that's how I figured out the barley malt. Okay, what malted means is that you sprouted a grain and then you arrest it. It doesn't develop a taproot. This is really a precise process. I mean, if you imagine how much malted barley a company like a Budweiser uses in a day to make beer, because beer is only made from water, barley, and hops. That's the base of beer.
Absolutely.
So the barley is pretty important.
Very important.
What I didn't, okay, so when you do that, it's called malted. It has nothing to do with being browned or roasted. Strictly that it means it was germinated,
Yep.
is all. What happens is that when the seed germinates, it activates and creates all these enzymes. And it's those enzymes that make beer. It's the same enzymes then that feed the microbes in the dough. They call it uh, diastatic malt. I didn't never knew what that meant. I just knew that you bought this product from a bakery supply called diastatic malt. And I said, okay. One day I just pulled my phone out and went, wonder what diastatic malt means. I looked it up and I went, holy shit. You can get this stuff at a homebrew store. So then I thought, well, if it's feeding fungi And bacteria, wouldn't that also work if you put it in the soil? The rest is history.
Yeah, and it does.
Chat has any
There's a lot.
questions for Coot or anybody, feel free to ask. And I threw the link in chat too if anyone wants to come bullshit with us.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying that I put the link to the thing in chat. So if anyone wants to connect to us and chat, or if anyone has a question for Coot, throw it in chat.
Oh, cool.
Coots deserve their-
I see Isney say, I've not eaten carb for 4 months and I feel amazing. You've cut on carb. That's always better. I mean, for myself, a sweet drink or any crap like that, I've kind of slowed down on it. And lately, I've bought a couple sweet drink. I don't know. I was feeling for that, and I was like, "Holy crap! I feel like I was high after." It gives me a high now to take a high dose of sugar in the water, whatever, water it form, a drink. Sweet drink is like a big sugar rush for me, you know. Um,
Oh,
I've
I
just
agree. Same for me, Evil Deadly. I don't drink much sugar at all. I don't drink any pop at all. And now when I have one or two sips, and I'm just like, whoa, that's way too much for me.
yeah,
I
I
haven't
like
had.
the caffeine. At one point, I was drinking some Pepsi or Coke for the sugar rush and the caffeine in it, and that's because I was doing some night
That'll do
shift.
it.
Yeah, and I started to have a
It
belly because I was drinking beer and some like salt and comfort and stuff like that, and eating quickly as much possible what I could think is quick to bake, whatever. And yeah, I was just taking weight and not having as much energy and just cutting on sweet drink. No, like I still think that we can enjoy it once in a while, but not every day. Not every week that I'm drinking any sweet drink or something like that. Like juice is something when I was younger. Everyone was drinking Kool-Aid, punch juice, and whatever, what kind of a chemical
Hawaiian
flashy
punch.
color we had, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There was
that's
a there was a beverage in the United States. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's called Hawaiian Punch.
yeah, the same kind
Uh,
of thing, right?
okay, yeah, yeah.
If your kid is hyperactive, give it to him, right? It's like the best thing in the world for hyperactive kids. I was having a couple of friends that were like spinning it all over in the house and drinking those type of juice. And I'm not sure if it's the red dye in it or the fact that you got 2 tons of sugar in it. Like, what are we arguing for?
Under American law, there are 60 names for sugar. I'll give you one, this is just one example. If I was to say to you yeast extract, what does that conjure up in your mind?
I remember you told me that, but you catch me, I don't remember what it is. Because it's just one of those
Is it, is
garbage
it,
term.
it's a process of using fungi, which is yeast, okay, or yeast is a fungi, however you want to phrase it, that creates a sugar. But by listening like that, they don't have to call it a sugar. And who reads a goddamn label on something? You want to read something horrible, you pick up a jar of Nutella and read that one,
Um,
palm oil.
You make me think when I was working with producing fresh herb like basil and stuff like that. I tried to do a bit at home, some of it too, and talk with some of my friends that were having a small shop selling empalada and whatever. They were selling some vegan and stuff, and it was like, the spice that you're using are the same spice that my friend at the butchery, and it's full of salt, and it says spice, but you don't know everything in those spices, and they are not really fresh. They don't really taste that good. And the thing, one of the argument he told me was that at least he's sure that it always tastes the same. It's approved organic for the one he was using, because the same brand was used like selling organic type and the regular type, and my friend at the butchery was using the regular type instead of the organic because there was maybe $3 difference on the can, something like that. So I was like, why don't we grow the herb for your stuff and having fresh herb? And both of those guys were like, for them it wasn't that important, but for me the taste and how efficient is the spice in your food, it's way better if it's more fresh and use it freshly as much possible than if it just dry, mix it with salt and randomly mix it with, like, most of the time it's just a lot of salt in it that make taste better. The salt absorbs some of the flavor of the spice, and it just, yeah, it tastes a bit better. Like the sausage were so better when we're using good fresh herb and cheese instead of that mix.
You don't use Velveeta?
Velveeta. I don't know Velveeta and sausages.
You
Okay,
don't know
maybe.
Oh, is that just an American thing? Lucky you.
Yeah, no, but
It's
I think I've seen
I don't
something
think
similar.
I don't think they have synthetic orange cheese. Oh, no, that's not true. In the
No, we have
Caribbean,
it
you
here.
can buy that shit everywhere. In fact, Wes, I don't know if they had it in Antigua, but in Jamaica,
Tasties,
you
yeah,
go to
man.
like the corner store and they have the cheese like next to the register in like a
Tasties,
pile of
bang
like
sweet.
saran wrapped fucking chunks.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
I
I got a
love that
worse one for
cheese.
you.
Yeah, are you
It's
talking about the American cheese orange brick,
Yeah,
like
that's what it
really?
No,
is, basically American cheese. Yeah.
it's a Dutch cheese it's a Dutch cheddar that comes to the Caribbean and it comes in like cans and then it's cut up into like wedges and then it's sold
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It it's not a great cheese, but it's great
It's great
in
on hamburgers.
it's great and
Yeah, when you
great
grill it.
on breaded
When
cheese
you're
because they make like these penny loaves of
Yeah.
bread
Yeah.
and then they slather it with like butter and then put that cheese on
Hey,
it and it's so freaking good. It's
listen,
like one of the
it's
staples of the
garbage.
Caribbean. Oh, it
It's
is garbage.
garbage.
It is.
We
It's
all know
100%.
that, but it tastes so fucking good, man.
Yeah. It.
I
oh
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
goes straight to the arteries.
Yeah. No. 100%. That's exactly what that is.
No, but it's root. The difference between like Velveeta and other cheeses, or the Caribbean cheese, is lumped in with the Velveeta. It's stable at room temperature, right? So like you don't have to refrigerate it. That's the difference. Is that
Yeah.
it's like
That's a big deal.
it's
Yes.
processed, right?
Yeah.
But
I
that's
like
the
that
worst part
word,
of
processed.
living
Yeah.
in the tropics. Like, unless someone wants to correct me, but nowhere in the like equatorial zone has good cheeses, right? Like it just doesn't fucking
That's
happen. It's
true.
only
No,
northern
that's
and
right.
far southern climates
Yeah.
that make good cheese. Like you
And
do
that's
You
not
why
gotta
have
have
that.
you gotta have the dairy nearby, and you gotta have a lot of water to have dairy.
and the method of curing historically was salt because of that reason. Um, it's fish. You could salt it. Like for example, that horrible stuff from England, Worcestershire sauce, whatever it's called.
Worcestershire.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you know what the basis of that is?
Fish sauce.
Yep.
Horse hoofs.
Salted fish sauce. And they've got
That's
that. Yeah.
that when I've learned how fish sauce is made and all that, I tried to avoid it as much possible because just the idea I want to
Oh,
throw up.
I buy the I
But
know what
I
you mean,
know
but
it
I buy
can
the
be good.
gourmet stuff.
Now
Yeah.
it
I
can be
buy
good
the
tasting.
yeah.
It's just that every time I'm thinking at it, I don't want to take another bite.
No,
I've
the
lived
really
by a
good
lake,
stuff.
okay? So rotten fish is not something I enjoy.
No, it's fermented. The really good stuff. And there's a lot of. It's like olive oil. There's olive oil, and then there's olive oil.
Yeah.
And same thing with anything that's of value, like say, uh, uh, balsamic vinegar. There's reasons that some of it's 30 years old and that some of it's 3 months old. Okay. And, things like that. So
I
there's
remember
just a lot of
a Roman, they were doing some fish sauce also, and they and instigate some rule about where it can be made because it's
exactly.
really stink.
I just learned today that not the whole industry, but a good sized part of it is that American trawlers pick up the fish out of the ocean, right, and deposit it in China, where it's cheaper to have it processed there, turned into whatever, fish sticks or, garbage, and then have it shipped frozen to the United States for distribution. I mean, are you kidding me?
Oh man.
All over a profit because you don't want to pay somebody a decent salary. On the other hand, the
You gotta have
American public,
99% fish sticks though.
Well, man, a fish stick is a really, really good rabbit hole. We can talk about South Park and that song on Fish Stick. I mean, I've recently listened back to those guys that play the song in like there's a show of them that they did whatever, and it's on YouTube. Was looking at it and was like, how I can be as amazed by that, but they really did something good out of it. Yeah, I think a fish stick is now something it will stay in my mind forever. Can you ask, do you like fish stick?
no.
I don't like fish sticks. I do like a good piece of fish that has been breaded and I do like my fish dip. Yeah.
So you
Uh,
you keep your
I
fish
like
stick
Welcome,
at
I
home?
not fish sticks, not fish sticks. No.
I wanted to say welcome to Tiffany. She was one of the growers that was over there in Thailand. Is now back here in the stateside. So welcome.
I can't figure out how this works.
If you want to turn your camera on, you can. It's the camera button next to the mic button, but if not, that's fine too.
Wait, can you actually hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you
we
fine.
do.
yes.
Oh, guys, I was like, wait, I don't know if this is on mute. I was trying to find the button. I'm using it on my iPhone. This is the first time I've used
It's
Zoom on
down
my
in,
iPhone. So I'm
it's,
just like, there's all these tiny little buttons, and I'm like, am I on mute? Hey, all.
okay. It's down in the bottom left corner. You should
Ah,
say mute and video.
I see. Thank you. Okay, cool.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
sometimes it just like disappears. So there. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Well,
Welcome. Doing good.
I've sneakishly come on here a few times, somehow incognito.
oh, I like it.
Oh,
I'm incognito. I like
You were
that.
I'm
you
the
were down at that Mendo event. How was that?
It was really good. It was really nice. It didn't feel, some of these, I feel like nowadays some of these cannabis events can feel a bit pretentious. Sorry, don't
oh
want
no.
Oh no, you can talk shit all you want on this this
to.
podcast.
Um, but this was really nice. It felt more like grassroots. There were a lot of actual true cannabis farmers there that have been around for a long time, and it just reminded me of the community back in the day, and Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
good. It was really nice. I really liked it. Lots of good weed too, so can't complain about that.
Tiffany, have you ever been to that event in Oregon called the Country Fair? Used to be held
No,
on. Oh, okay.
I've always wanted to go
Yeah.
for just for years. I've always wanted to go, but I've never really made it up there in time. Yeah, wait,
Save your
what month
money.
does that happen?
Well, it's usually July, I guess. I don't know. I went one time when I moved up here 36 years ago, and that was enough for me. So,
Yeah, you're like, one time is enough.
yeah, that was enough. I saw enough.
That's good to hear.
I mean,
But it's a bit of a
yeah,
drive for me because I'm in like Santa Cruz area, so
gotcha.
yeah.
You should come up to Dabadoo on the 2nd of October. Mila is throwing a Dabadoo in San Francisco on the 2nd of October.
Ooh, it's in San Francisco.
Yep. I
Cool.
can send you the link on IG later
Yes,
if you need it.
that's great. What's coming up here soon?
Yeah. But Mila is awesome. We've had Mila on my other podcast and then on the previous podcast that we used to be on. Wes knows more about her life, I think, than anybody else on the panel.
How many of
Milo
you
was
are
good.
actually currently in Thailand?
Nobody currently on here. Sometimes we have the Thai guys on here, but nobody here currently is in Thailand.
Nice.
The Wes and Evil are in Canada, Coot's in Oregon, and you and I are in Cali.
Cool. Well, thanks for
I
having me on,
escaped.
guys.
I escaped Southern California, or excuse me, as I call it, SoCal, uh, back in '88. I said, I'm out of here. So we had come up here on vacation, looked around, and went, "Holy shit!" Saw a guy standing on a corner in downtown Portland waiting for the bus, and it was rainy season. Well, it's always raining, but anyway, he's waiting on a bus, and it's late in the evening. It's almost dusk, and he pulls out a bong out of his trench coat and takes a hit while he's waiting for the bus. And I just thought, this is a really cool place to live.
This is where I
So,
belong.
yeah, this is it. So
Where
we
did you go
moved
in
up here.
California?
We were down in San Clemente, Newport, Huntington Beach.
Oh yeah, that's too much down there. Way too much.
Yeah, we had lived there since 80 or 79. Or I had lived down there since 76. And so by, yeah, 22 years later, I'd had enough. So, or 12 years, whatever it was. So, yeah, Oregon's pretty cool, pretty chill. It's a shame what happened to the cannabis scene, but such is life.
That's widespread. Pretty sad how it's going here
Yeah,
too, in a lot of ways, as
yeah.
we all know.
I remember Steve here had a guest on. It was a husband and wife on his program. This is, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago. And they described it as, and I'm quoting them, a shit race to the bottom as far as flowers. And that was the exact verbiage, was a shit race to the bottom. So, wow. They were from Humboldt, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so they've seen it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that was
pretty,
definitely
yeah,
front row seats in Humboldt to the whole demise of the cannabis industry.
yeah. Well,
Funny
Right
enough,
now, Humboldt.
that that couple was unable to sell their weed was it last year or the year before, and were
yeah.
driving it to Michigan and got busted in Montana or Idaho or one of those northern states up there, and James is like facing pretty serious time for 48 pounds in a red state.
Yeah, I was gonna say
48.
that's definitely a place where you don't want to be caught. Those are places where it's like, no.
There was a bus today or yesterday, whatever. It was in the news today, so it could have been yesterday. Anyway, a ton of premium bud on its way to, you ready for this? Georgia. Rule number one, if you're going to smuggle out of Oregon, you don't go south on I-5. What are you fucking thinking? You go east to Colorado, okay, and then go south or something, but man, stay off I-5 because there's only one corridor on the West Coast, right? And that's I-5 of any consequence.
Well,
And
not only that, like when you get to I-5, like in the
yes,
south, you got the border patrol checkpoints,
Yeah,
and
they're
like
always checking
you
the
get caught,
exactly.
as
you get
immigrants.
caught at one of those, you are done.
Yep. They're
Yeah,
like, oh, you have weed. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Better than illegal immigrants any day.
No, the I used to live out in Boulevard, which is like between Alpine and El Centro,
Okay,
and
okay.
yeah, so we were like two stops past the checkpoint going towards San Diego. So people would come out and party and then leave all of their drugs at our house. And we had like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and like every bathroom fucking cabinet and like like we had unlimited supply of whatever we wanted the entire time I lived there. Like if you didn't have self-discipline, there's no way you could have survived there. Like you would have
Right,
just died
right.
of overdose. But fucking yeah, I don't know how much of the story I should tell on air, but the guy that used to run it, we used to have parties on like start on Thursday night and they would go till Sunday night. And we'd charge money for like rich kids in LA and San Diego to come out and throw parties. And on Monday, Tony would walk around with like this giant pewter tray, just completely fucking covered in Coke and all these little lines. And he'd put on this song and he'd be like, wakey bakey, time to clean. And he'd come in the fucking room with like a giant fucking pewter tray of fucking blow. I'll never fucking forget that shit. I had another time, one of our roommates, he owed some people that you don't shouldn't owe money in that part of the world, money,
Yeah,
and then went
really.
missing for over a month, and I don't know whatever happened to him. Might be dead now, I don't know. But he we were cleaning it like when he went gone for a month, like we needed to like cover the rent for like his portion of the place, right? So we moved all of his stuff into the garage and just put it in boxes in case like he showed back up, like at least his shit was
Uh-huh.
still there, but like we could re-rent the room out, you know? And I had like he had his jar, like a mason jar, and it had green powder in it. I thought it was the THC powder that I make because we were dyeing it green back then. And so I took like a spoonful, and it was like the last box or two that we were moving down, and it wasn't
What
the
were you
powder that
dying
I
green?
make, and it ended up being mescaline powder. And we had
Yeah.
gone to the grocery
It
store
changed
right
your
after
plans for
that,
the evening.
and I walk into the vegetable aisle, and all of a sudden it hits me like hard. And I'm like,
Another
hey,
vegetable.
someone needs to walk me back to the car. Like, I am not going to make it through this grocery run.
I
What did
cannot
you
make it.
So
what
I
did
had to
you
sit
say
in
that
the
you were
car while all my roommates were grocery shopping and just kind of like deal with it on my own in the parking lot.
So you've
And
end up in the Mexican section of the grocery store in your head and wasn't able to come out of that alley.
I was involved in a deal as a young man in Germany, stationed there in the army, and we bought a, kilo of mescaline
Kilo.
made South of from Sandoz Laboratories. It was the manufacturer or whatever.
Yeah.
So in deciding, well, what are we gonna do with this? And so we thought about it and thought about it, and we happened to be over at the commissary, and I saw it, boxes of chocolate cake mix. I said, "Here we go." So anyway, we figured out the formula, and we mixed the mescaline with the cake mix and sold it as chocolate mescaline.
That's awesome.
I would be
Made a
curious to
fucking.
heard about anyone remembering the chocolate mescaline.
I mean, we made so much goddamn money. It was unreal. It was like this is almost illegal or unsafe or something. Shit.
What's up, Gorski? Welcome.
Welcome, thanks. What's
What's
up?
going on?
Steve, Garsky will walk you out of the grocery store. I think you know the place.
I'll walk you around a grocery store. I don't have as much experience as Coot, but I got I think 16 or 17 years in the grocery industry. So
Oh, wow. Good for you.
yeah.
Are you at the distribution level or the store?
No, I'm in store level, assistant store manager here at Telluride. So
All
I
right,
was
cool.
going to be store manager for a grocery chain, and their practices, it was Safeway. So like, but they merged with Albertsons, and Albertsons
Oh,
bought
God.
out with
Yeah, I know.
Kingston.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fucking mega juggernaut dick in the ass. So
That
if they ever
Kroger,
get a hold of that stuff.
there's a court case here in Oregon in front of a federal judge. Uh, the Kroger, and you're talking about the Kroger Albertsons
Yeah,
acquisition,
they're
right?
yeah, I mean they wanted
Yeah,
Kroger to buy up Safeway, which is Albertsons, just to
right.
make it specific, but it's really Albertsons that bought Safeway. And after they did that, it just, the prices went through the fucking roof.
Yep. See,
And then
one thing we have though here is it was a regional chain called Fred Meyer's. It was started here by a man named Fred Meyer's back in like the 20s or something, 100 years ago. Yeah, they were bought out by Kroger, but Kroger didn't fuck with them because people really like Freddy's. It was like the cool place to go shopping if you were living in Seattle or Portland. And so this is really going to get screwed up because now they're going to have to go corporate if they're going to go as large as they're talking about. I mean, this is nuts.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing, and it sounds naive when I say it, but when you have more buying power, things should become cheaper. So when you're not
Yes.
tyrant and you're not a dipshit, you go out there and you purchase things and you have more purchasing power, things become
Right.
cheaper. And the
Right.
margin in grocery is usually 40% to begin with. How much fucking more of our dollars do they want? So it's pretty awful.
And let me just say this. People talk about the awesome threat that Amazon poses in the marketplace. I'm not going to argue that. I don't know. I can say this though: if Whole Foods, excuse me,
Amazon.
Whole Foods is owned by Amazon.
yeah, that one. If Whole Foods is an example of the acumen of that corporation, you got nothing to worry about. What a fucked up chain. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
was
yeah.
at wholesale. I was at wholesale produce, so I sold to guys like you. If you would place orders, your store would place the orders for your racks and your produce racks and what have you. So I got to know that end of it pretty well. Um, God, I'd hate to do business with Whole Foods. Holy
I just
shit.
I just saw a video today this guy posted, and he went around Whole Foods and
Uh-huh.
showed how everything, not everything, but he picked up like 20 different items and it all said bioengineered ingredients
Yeah.
with the it's like if it's organic, it's non-GMO, but the funny thing is it like said, organic and it still said bioengineered. So
Well,
Yeah.
Bill
the shit
Gates,
there's the cheese, the American cheese, and the Reddit, the animal byproduct to, what
Right.
is it?
Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but
It's a
now,
stomach enzyme.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they don't use that anymore. They use shit that was made by Pfizer. So
Right.
there's this organism, and they can consider
Right.
it organic. So like
Yeah.
90% of the American cheese has a Pfizer product in it that's
what is
not
the
an animal, and
label?
it's non-GMO, and it's vegan. So they can call it vegan organic, but it's actually a Pfizer Reddit to help coagulate the milk solids,
With
and it's like 90% of American cheese.
So it says
with
Rennet still, but you wouldn't know the difference.
I'm trying to find one on this packaging here. Yeah, you wouldn't know because they have a loophole because it's considered, oh, what is it?
Too
CM
sweet.
CMS, considered mostly safe or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. You're right. That's category. Hey, I got
Yeah,
one
so-
for you.
Oh man.
What's
Uh,
what's even more crazy is they're trying to put vaccines into plant. I don't know if you guys saw the patent for
Oh,
that,
yeah,
but
they
they're
are.
trying to grow fucking COVID vaccine in leafy greens. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, they properly label it though, Steve. They properly label it. You know, it's if you have that choice, you know, you could read the label because you're picking it.
Yeah, that's one thing is everything you chose convenient for, you pay the price, and at the grocery store, there's nothing more true than that. So pre-cooked stuff are always filled with salt or preservative, and it's low, and there's always a cost if you want to.
Someone else was made a comment.
Market.
Oh, go ahead.
Woo.
Yeah, it's called enzymes. They don't even have to. They just say enzymes, so they don't even call it
mhm.
Regenerative. So yeah, on the American cheese, you gotta. I mean, you really can't eat it anymore. I kind of a little while ago, I did like 110-hour fast. The first 2 days, I didn't drink any water. I just did a dry fast because I wanted to
Wow.
help with my depression, and I wanted to like, I just wanted to clean out my system. So I just did water the next however many days, and then I haven't had any coffee in 3 weeks. I haven't had any. Well, I had 2 dishes with cheese because I had some shit that I needed to get out of the refrigerator. I'm not really the man that likes to throw shit out. But no chocolate chips, no candy, no sugar.
Chocolate chips.
And it's been like 3 weeks now, dude, and it's so much fucking better. I mean, after we had that discussion the last time, Coot, you were just like, you know, pay attention to what you're eating too, and just kind of inspired me to kind of help my diet out. But now you guys are talking about food again. I'm like, yeah, there's so much fucked up shit here at the store.
Isn't American cheese okay? For some reason, I'm under the impression that American cheese is fake, anyways, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, what
Yeah,
is
it's kind of
Mhm.
not the traditional cheese, but there's reason why they started to do that. That get
It's
a
all
whole other rabbit hole.
it's all super pasteurized, and you don't really have the live cheeses like you have in Europe or other parts of the world.
right? I'm just like American cheese. Like, I'll see a block of it, and I'm like, I don't think this is made the same way. Like, and
No, no, no,
slices
no,
of
no.
it. Like,
No,
I
it's
don't
not
get
the same.
it.
Real cheese is made with with microbes,
Yeah,
and
like,
so it's a food. It feeds your body, and the harder the cheese. In
the
other
better.
words, here's how easy it is to make cheese. Seriously, so you got to have whole milk, and so you want to pick whatever you feel is the best. Like I like the grass fed.
And I
You
feel
know,
amazing.
Raw grass fed.
okay.
Mm.
Now
You've got
you need to.
on carbs.
Okay, so you need to use an acid.
That's always
So
better.
you
I
can.
mean, for myself, a sweet drink or any crap like that,
Hey
I've kind of
Roger, you're
put down on it. And lately, I've bought
looping
a
or
couple
got
of
a
sweet drink. I don't know.
like
I was feeling for that, and I was like, "Holy crap! I feel like I was high." It
Wes,
gives
do you
me a
want
high
to
now to take
mute
a
him
high dose of sugar in the water, whatever.
or make me
What?
co-host and I'll mute him? There we go. Roger,
Anyway,
you're
so you,
mute your video that you're playing and then turn your audio on in Zoom because you're playing the audio from the your playback. Sorry about that.
so you have to have an acid, and you can use white vinegar is used. You can use lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, and you add that to the milk, and automatically it curdles. And so you separate the whey from the curds, and curds are what you use to make cheese, and the whey is what we use to people. You all kinds of uses of whey. One of them is feed your plants. You won't believe what it does to your plants, especially if you have used fermented milk like kefir. Excuse me, I have to say it the French way, Kefir. Uh, but or really quality yogurt, like the kind you make yourself where you're using 8 or 9 different strains. Yeah, I use it just separated. Now you got cream cheese on the one hand and whey on the other. Free fertilizer. Better than anything in a bottle.
Creme fraiche is another super easy, delicious one to make too.
What's that?
Creme fraiche.
Oh yeah,
Creme
yeah,
fraiche.
absolutely.
Creme
Yeah.
fraiche. Creme fraiche. No sé. I don't speak French, just Spanish.
You just add the same culture to cream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. What the same like kefir? I've seen kefir. Is that what we're talking? I've seen kefir creme fraiche. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I've never really seen kefir creme fraiche. Huh.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this you could also I've seen in a really high end, where they show off how smart they are making kefir butter. I mean, it's pretty cool to bring that kind of biology to restaurants that charge, I don't know, $300, $400 for dinner, that kind of shit. But anyway, it's really simple. I mean, all this
Yeah,
stuff.
creme fraiche is basically just heavy cream and cultured buttermilk.
Yeah. Well, there's a website called Cultures. It's either for health or cultures of health, whatever. Anyway, you can hit that. They got all kinds of cultures, buttermilk, all kinds of yogurts.
What's it called?
It's either cultures for health or cultures of health. I apologize.
Cultures of Health. Okay, I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, .com, and you'll be blown away. And they always wait a week or so
Ooh.
because they always have deals, so you can kind of follow the pattern.
They have
Like
sourdough.
oh yeah, they got sourdoughs, they got yogurts, different yogurts, Bulgarian, Romanian. You know, they have
Hey,
kefir, milk kefir. So
Now, what I have for you is a nice goat cheese and heirloom tomato frittata, and we're gonna top that with a little cream fraiche.
there you go. There you go.
Nice catch.
nice.
Yeah, you'll
No.
enjoy.
So if you're making, one of the things you can do too is if you're doing labs, you can actually use bamboo shoots. The Coot taught me that
Oh
one
yeah.
because they have a very diverse amount of lactobacillus. But you can also do the rice collection like with traditional KNF. So do your rice wash. So take rice that you're going to cook, rinse it off, and just get that dust off of it, and then put that out with a piece of cheesecloth or other really fine cloth. You can even use like an old 220 micron bubble bag if you got like an older one that's kind of busted. Put that over top of it and then sit that out for like 24 to 36 hours, and you'll collect the local airborne yeasts and lactobacillus, and then combine that with your kefir, and then make your milk base. So if we're going to do like a 5 gallon bucket, do like 4 gallons of milk to like a quarter gallon to half gallon of rice wash, and then put your kefir grains in there, and then just let it rip, and you'll end up with a thick curd layer at the top, and you can make cheese with that. You just take that and cook it down and press it and get all the water out of it, and then make cheese out of it. Or you can then use the whey for your labs to get rid of mold or fungi or bacteria in your garden. It's really good at stabilizing stuff. Or if you have an aquarium at home, put some of that in your aquarium. It'll get rid of all the sludge and stuff in the gravel. It's really good for just keeping things clean. It also will eat E. coli and salmonella and get rid of foodborne pathogens. We've used that to eliminate E. coli in aquaponic facilities before without having to shut the whole system down and kill all the mineralizing microbes and all the nitrifying microbes. You can just target the stuff that's gram negative with lactobacillus and not worry about killing any of the beneficial microbes that are mineralizing the system that way.
That's why I like kefir the whey, because totally you're looking at 45 different species of labs and fungi colonies, including the one that creates beer and wine. And what's fascinating is that if you add like a tablespoon of whey to your recipe, when you're making bread, I'm sorry, and whatever the amount of water, you're going to weigh it anyway, I hope. Anyway, include replace a tablespoon of water with a tablespoon of just whey from the Kefir. You will not believe what happens to the yeast, or if you're using sourdough, how big it gets and how fast it gets quickly. And it really adds flavor because you're all adding some really complex carbohydrates, excuse me, enzymes, and microbes. It's the same thing as your, like for your gut, same discussion. Hey, Korsky.
I think he
Oh,
stepped away for a second, looks like. The other thing that has a lot of lactobacillus in it, if you happen to have it laying around, is IMO. So if you have IMO 1 or 2, it's loaded, it's like 80% lactobacillus.
all right.
You have 1,000 different species in an IMO collection, over 1,000 species, and that's Chris Trump's data. I haven't actually seen Matt Powers' data yet on that. I know he's working on it, but he was saying there's a lot of PSB in it, which is your phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, which is, you ever heard of the recipe, Coot, when you do fish sauce, what's it called? Fish sauce and what's that stuff that they put in soups and stuff that people avoid? It's like a salt.
Durian.
MSG.
Oh,
yes.
glutamate monosodio.
So it's egg white, MSG, and fish sauce, and they make PSB. In Thai, they call it juicy. They make a really similar one called juicy, is the English translation for it in Thai. Which if Thai was here, he'd talk about it. His wife is actually really awesome at making it. She makes huge batches of it. But they were saying there's quite a bit of diversity in PNSB microbes. Is what Matt was saying in the sequencing of it too, which I thought was interesting because typically people don't associate that with IMO.
But it must stink so bad under the Thailand sun. I mean, holy crap. I don't want to be on the wrong side.
Yeah, MSG. I'll pull up the recipe for it.
Actually, can think of it for a second. With it may be bad cheese. I'm not defending the cheese sector, American diet at all, but there's a lot of cheese consumed, right? Imagine the amount of whey that is created from all the dairy industry. And if you start reading labels, you'll find they might call it protein, amino acids, whatever. It's whey. If you're buying anything in a can or it's frozen, go to the bank. It's got whey in it.
They dry it out after?
You can dry it. Yeah, it becomes a supplement now. Now the price goes up like up the ass, man. Price. Get a can, it's $35-$40.
Because the bodybuilder, when they use that to whey protein, is it like
for
whey
weightlifters?
dehydrated?
Exactly.
Okay.
This is what I was talking about, and you see this all over Thailand. You see all the locals using it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about PNSB, purple non-sulfur bacteria.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I still mix the two of them up sometimes. That was my fault.
Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, PNSB, you have to be careful though, because PNSB is a cyanobacteria, and it can if you have a lot of waste in your system, especially like in an aquatic system with fish, and you have a ton of fish waste, that shit'll fucking explode in your system, and that can be a bad thing.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it sucks that it fucks up the oxygen levels in the water, and it also has some toxic metabolites in it in large quantities.
Well, one time I don't follow the honest between you and me and the gatepost. I thought I was a fraud 15 years ago, and nothing's changed my mind. It was called EM1 then. I don't know what they call it now. Terraganics was the name at one time. Anyway, their big claim to fame is they had 7 or 8 labs, right? Big deal. They're all yogurt based labs. Who gives a shit? and a PNSB, one or two. I don't remember what the deal was. All that excitement over that, over yogurt extracts, really? Seriously? Remember we had yet then you would make a new batch, but you couldn't go beyond that. You know why? Because local bacteria and fungi take over. Same thing. You buy sourdough, and it's the San Francisco culture. Okay, it'll last about 3 batches, and then it's going to be where the fuck you live. It's going to be the Humboldt County sourdough culture. And if you brought it with you and you moved to Portland, it'd be the Portland sourdough culture. You know, it's on your hands. It's on the flour you buy. You know, this isn't a laboratory. You know, some of this stuff is like just silly. There's plenty
So
of
it says it's 100-year-old sourdough culture. Doesn't have any of the enzymes or bacteria from any of that shit, and it's like renewing itself after
it's going to
three.
renew locally. I'm just saying it. When you buy, and I have, you can go to sourdough, it's spelled Sourdo, sourdough.com. Okay. And he collected strains from all over the world. France, I mean, Africa, Australia, you name it. And what I'm saying is that when you buy it and it comes to your home and you go through the process of, and you know, bringing the dried yeast culture back to health, life, right? That's the thing. Your hands have all those microbes on it. The flour that you're using, the water, the air, everything is pretty soon it's gonna be good. It's gonna be wonderful. But it's not gonna taste like it came out of Africa anymore if that's you say you bought the one from Africa, for example. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got to fucking do it in a clean room with a flow hood.
Exactly. You know, come on, we're talking about making sourdough bread for Christ's sake, you know.
Treat it
Get
like
out the
mushrooms.
petri dishes.
I'm sorry?
I said you got to get out the petri dishes and the agar.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Right. You
All right,
got
anyway,
liquid culture for sourdough.
what's that?
Oh, well, you'd have a liquid culture for your sourdough. So
Yeah, right.
agar.
Inoculate your mushroom.
Fuck
Honest
yeah.
to God, let's see, Broaden. What's the name of it? I've got a little, it sits on the counter and looks like a refrigerator. All right. And it's white like a refrigerator, it has a little door and it holds a quart jar. And then you set the temperature, it's got a digital temperature on the front. It's for maintaining your sourdough so that you don't have to dick around. It's always ready to go. It maintains it at what you can set it between 66 and 84 degrees, whatever. Fair enough. Or centigrade, you know, whatever. Anyway, that's the way you do it. You get it right, and then you keep it. Yeah, you get consistent results.
So that's
Or you
not
just go
only in
to,
the water that you make the difference, but also with all the bacteria in the lab that get
it's part of
invaded
it.
your old sourdough.
That's
Yeah.
part of it. When you make a batch of when you make a batch of dough, you got two things that you have no control over: the water and the flour. Okay, because even if you buy, say, I buy big bags, but I don't grind that. I mean, I grind most of what I use, but I do buy a base, you know, a bread flour, high protein flour. Okay, so even when you open it up and you're using it, the microbes in the air are dropping on the flour, even as we speak. So you see what I'm saying? It's just you're not working in a lab with like Garcia said, a flow hood, you know, fans going, or you're
And
like
spraying
you're
bleach
doing,
every 5 minutes.
yeah, like we're doing brain surgery, man. You're making sourdough bread, fuck. Yeah. So
How many? I've got a question. Kind of is like, how many less microbes are in the air than maybe 60, 70 years ago? Because when it rains, there's so much glyphosate in the air right now. Like, like
I was
Well,
less
you have
worried only
other
about glyphosate, to be honest with you. It's not
you
a
have other
worse.
pollutants.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Acid rain is a result of sulfur, correct? So the problem that never gets discussed is that it's sulfur dioxide. That's what happens when you burn sulfur. You create sulfur dioxide. Now, sulfur oxide, SO4, is at the base of every metabolic function on this planet. There's a list of micronutrients. They're always the same. Now, how they're derived is different. Like, for example, the one that I use is derived from uh, using fulvic acid as the extraction to chelate it. Okay, but all I'm saying is there's they call them the heavy seven. One of those is always sulfur. It's always lacking. For example, if you're growing hydroponically, have you ever read or heard about, well, there's just no flavor, there's no smell. The reason is that sulfur is necessary for the creation of terpenes, terpenoids, and ketones in a discussion. So you add a little bit of gypsum to your soil mix. I mean, we're talking very little, a quarter cup to 7 gallons of soil. Problem solved.
or
Look at the products that are.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, or these ridiculous products that contain sulfur, that terpenator, this fucking potash, potassium sulfate. Are you fucking kidding me? That's
Everybody
at the
loves
farms.
Like Athena nutrients. It's just fucking salts repackaged with 8
Or-
times the
Right.
price.
Or
There's
silver
terpene.
wettable sulfur. It's like the most expensive wettable sulfur you'll ever purchase, called Silver Bullet.
Mm.
But
Sulfur is water soluble. How could you? What is sulfur? That's what Epsom salts are. Magnesium sulfate, for Christ's sake. People put in their bath. Okay, I mean,
Great.
Jesus Christ. How can it be any more? Sulfur is water soluble in discussion. I mean,
well,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
it's like the word play that you were saying, like micronized or whatever,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Micronized is different. Micronized usually means sonicated, and broken down into smaller stuff. I do that with
Right.
THC. That's a different process, and you don't see micronized.
No, we're talking about
nutrients.
fertilizer.
Yeah, I know, but I know that there's some companies now that have some micronized fertilizers. But at the end of the day, like, we're dissolving a salt in water. There's no reason for any of that shit. You were saying something, Tiffany? I think you get cut off.
Oh, I was just laughing at terpenator because there's also perpenator. That's all. I was just giggling. It's the terpenator. My brother-in-law used to use that, and oh my God, it cracks me up. That's all. It's like terpenator and perpenator. I
The
haven't
other
heard
thing,
that for so long. Like I have not heard that word in a long time. I didn't even know that was still a thing.
you know, it was really awesome. I was in Georgia consulting, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I found a bottle of Guardian. Fucking Guardian.
Right.
Remember that? That was the pesticide that was
No.
supposed to be organically certified that had like fucking
yeah.
Avid in it or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that originally for? Oh no, never mind. I'm thinking of something
Didn't
else.
he get caught in Oregon?
Yeah, he got busted because the
Yeah,
Oregon
yeah.
health department, cannabis department tests all the pesticide. They go to the store and just buy a bottle and pull it off the retail shelf and test it. Whereas most others, I think Oregon is the only one that does that. It actually retail
Well,
tests. the
there's a
pesticides, and
caveat.
they've found a couple. They've found 3 or 4 pesticides in the last 10 years that were
Yeah,
all completely illegal.
yeah. There's a caveat there. At one time, when this thing got started, before the nightmare got into full motion, there was medical cannabis and there was recreational cannabis. And medical cannabis had a set of regulations that were instituted back in the 90s when medical cannabis was passed by the state legislature. So there were, I'm not arguing whether the standards are good or bad. I'm just saying there were standards set, and that's how they operated. So when recreation came along, and that was all done by hacks with money and assholes with running around in chino pants with their daddy's sports car and laptops, didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They're going to reinvent the cannabis scene. It's just, yeah. And that's, I mean, how can you say, for example, Tiffany, in Oregon, in Portland, I don't know, but I don't travel to the rural area of the state, but Portland is the only major city, really. I see signs everywhere, $35 ounces.
Wow.
$35 for an ounce.
Damn.
But nobody
What's the
buys flowers anyway. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
Carts and pre-rolls dominate over 92%. 92% is carts and pre-rolls.
Rosin for dabs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there
all
was someone that was showing me a grow in Vancouver Island, and it were all autoflower grown in a field pretty tight to each other. Like it was looking like a full field, not row, but it wasn't looking like row with a lot of space in between. So, and I was looking at it and being like, oh, it nearly looked like some of those landrace field, if I can say, but there were a lot more all equal looking, and they were all from feminized autoflower seed. It was all described as a biomass by the producer, and all going in cart and diamond and stuff like that in Exxon, if I remember. Is it Exxon? Anyway, one of those guys.
Yeah,
It wasn't Butan, but it was another one.
that's what we did for a while. I think we did a season or two. We did Fem Auto Seeds. We did about 15 acres of it for biomass. And then shortly after, we were like, nope, no more. No more autoflower. But yeah, you pack them tightly. You pack them pretty tightly together and grow them small. And yeah, you put them all to fresh frozen, and then, as a wholesaler, you just sell them off, and then other people brand them and put them in their little carts
Uh,
and vape pens and pre-rolls.
Did
But
you
it's not
guys
really
had
worth it.
any technique for the terpene that you re-put into the product, like you do with the cold trap, and then put it back into?
What'd you say?
Because when they apply it fresh like that to make the hydrocarbon extraction, if they use a cold trap when
We
they dry it out, they can get some of the terpene back.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. We didn't do the processing. We just froze it. So, we would chop it and
Okay.
then, yeah, and then just put it in the freezer. We didn't really do anything fancy.
How much refrigeration did you have to get that kind of biomass frozen?
So basically, we had at that point, one of the guys at my farm kind of decided to go a little crazy and adopt all these farms. So we had at that time 5 farms running. So we would just have a freezer dropped off, and we would just process everything there on site.
So like how
40
big
by 10 freezers.
like trucks?
What?
Were they like trucks or something, like reefer trucks, or
They're like Thermo King freezers that Thermo King would just Have you guys ever seen the freezers outside of like
Yeah,
Safeway or your local stores
right.
for like Thanksgiving or holiday? You know, they have it for like overstock. So it's
Yeah.
essentially just
Right.
one of those freezers. And we do
They're
that.
like pods.
We still do
They're
that.
pods, but they're temperature controlled pods.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
basically set your temperature. They
Right.
drop it off around harvest, and then,
Mhm.
we would send it to a main, like it's our barn. It's basically just a barn with a bunch of other freezers, and then, people come and pick up.
So you could rent one of those if you had a bunch of biomass and then do your like hash washing in there too, huh?
At one point, we did have a hash facility. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Lifted Organics. We were doing cold water hash. And then at one point we had these like vegan, like edibles, but we were basically, our main thing was cold water hash. So we would run not a lot of our own stuff, but enough. But it just wasn't worth it. It got to a point where it wasn't worth it. And so, yeah, people just started coming and buying off of us. And now that's basically kind of what we still do. But we don't do auto flowers anymore. Everything we do is outdoor, full sun. So
Which cultivars are running the best?
that's um that's a funny question because I feel like we have so many in production right now. It's
Sure.
like we have a lot. I had 75 different genetics for
Holy,
moms this
well,
past season. Well, to be fair, a lot of them, because we at this point we have farms, or we have people that want us to grow certain genetics. We have contracts with them, so they ask us to grow certain varieties. So they wanted to try out all these new things, but we also have the things that we've kind of stuck with over the last years. But it's kind of tricky, like what's running best right now. I'm like, I don't know. Raspberry parfait seems to be a big hitter, vanilla frosting. We have modified mints that look really good. We just got a white mango from some guy up in Greenfield. We got a cut from him, and that's been really nice. Then we got a bunch of random stuff from Finest. I don't really know if I would say any of it's that great.
Oh, go ahead.
What?
I was going to say the raspberry parfait seemed to be a little bit sparse. Did you get that from Humble Sea Company or?
Yeah, and last year I think we got close to like 3 pounds per during harvest. So, but granted, again, that all goes to biomass. Um, Sadly, this year we
Right.
are hanging a lot more. So people are more interested in like dry flower this year. So we are trying to prioritize that a bit more. But yeah, currently in my greenhouse, I have 74 different genetics. It's insane.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I have a
But
whole.
pressure, honey banana, frozen banana,
Yeah.
all of the mint crosses are doing really well. So yeah.
I guess it'd
We're
be easy. Which one's your
we're
favorite?
about
Oh,
to we're about to do a big pheno hunt. We're like 2 to 4 weeks away from getting ready and doing the first pheno hunt for the new facility up here in Humboldt.
Ooh, I want to come
The first
see.
round. Yeah, I just got some. I just met up with Luna Whitcomb and got some of the skunk. They did that skunk project where they did like 90 different skunk cultivars, sifted through all those and picked the best couple of plants, and then cross pollinated those. So I'm real interested in that. And then I got some of her lunar raspberry cheese, which I'm also super stoked on the other day. And I have a bunch of cool shit. I got some puck crosses from Bob Hemphill, which if you've seen any of the puck line, like they are fucking fire. I got some really cool stuff from Family Tree Seeds. I got a bunch of really cool shit to pop off.
what'd you get from Family Tree?
I don't remember. I have to go back and look.
His Mexican brick seeds. I got 3 of those from him. He's a good guy.
Oaxacan High, or what is it? The Highland Gold, Oaxacan Gold.
Oh no, his Pam. Did you get his Pam?
Yeah, I got some
Yeah,
Pam cross. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I got two.
I
I
would
have
like to
Pam
have
and
his
then I have
spam.
2 Pam crosses.
Yeah, for sure. He said it's just a really special one that didn't link up with any of this stuff when they had the snips, like it was a plant on its own. So I'd love to see it checked against cross referenced against the data again, not to like poo poo on what he's saying. I'm just saying like when they were doing all that stuff and getting the snips from all the
Yeah,
plants.
no, the info was partly bogus on some part. I agree, but it was for sure different than everything else. It wasn't like a skunk, a Northern Light, or whatever from Amsterdam,
Hey,
or you know.
see, Tiffany, that picture how's that for biomass?
Sorry, I ran away for a second.
Is that,
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it's just a small pot, right?
That
Bananas
is
are
yes,
that is the
Yeah,
that's
it,
the
it,
one spot.
it looked like a small
600.
600 gallon.
I
Yes.
was just getting ready to say, is that like 800?
It's almost, yeah, 600, which is 1.5 yards.
Jesus, that's crazy. Are those sheep in the
And
background, or are those just rock?
I know those are sheep.
You just got some sheep grazing back there? Like, that's pretty regenerative.
Yeah. Hey, it's better than hiring somebody to come in with a mower every week and just annoy the shit out of me.
Totally.
So,
Weed whackers. Ugh.
yeah.
Here, wait, let's see if I can
You like sheep better than goat, Coot? You
No, but we have
Llama,
friends that are
no.
involved in fabric arts, and so the wool is something that is highly prized because they're
Llama.
really fed well. I know this will really shock people, but I actually feed them kelp
hmm,
uh, to round out their
that's
diet
smart.
because it has 83 elements.
Now,
sheep.
Alpacas and llamas are really good for weed as far as waste too.
Yeah,
They're like the best.
absolutely. Yeah, your grazers, I mean, they take the grass down, and the thing with cows is they're just fucking big,
Well, the other
and
thing you have with cows and horses, and especially this is more so with horses and cows, but you have the fact that they use dewormers on the horses and the cows, and that
yeah,
wipes out your beneficial nematodes in your soil, which is and can kill earthworms
well,
too.
what you have to do. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. If I use manure, dairy manure, and from an organic, warming is a fact of life. So, and I don't have the name in front of me, but it takes about 4 weeks to deconstruct, and it deconstructs when exposed to sunlight. So that's why you lay it out and you basically turn it and err on the side of caution, go 6 weeks. And now you've neutralized the vermicides that are used. It's used with horses, it's used with dairy. Uh, it's just a fact of certain areas that the dairy can be certified organic, and it's going to be allowed herbicides. And this one, it's just look up the word vermicide in dairy, and it'll be dominate every answer. I just can't remember the damn thing.
So you're starting as a thermophilic and then eventually it's
Yes,
mesophilic? Okay.
yes. Well, yeah, you gotta go to thermo. You're gonna first you're going to do a mesophilic, and then you take that material, and if you turn that into your worm food and they'll bring microbes, they exude microbes, they exude all kinds of things to trigger microbial responses um, in the soil.
Yeah.
One of the reasons yeah, it straightens out your pH. If you use worm castings, say it's outdoors, top dress with it.
Guerrero said it best: sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell.
Sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell.
That's was it a Beck song?
No, cake.
Beck? Cake. Sorry. Same era.
Hey, so Gorski, I've been sugar free for 3 years, and trust me on this one, it just gets better.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I don't eat anything that was manufactured. So and nothing with like fast foods or anything in a can. Uh yeah, I'm gonna die, rather say it was a good ride than like fuck you, I'm out of here, kind of shit. So
So
Yeah,
you'd be good to.
and it's one of those things where I have to live on in honor, you know? So like
yeah.
I have to be resolute because I decided to stop drinking a long time ago. So there's no sense in starting. And I had to stop smoking cigarettes, and I did that a long time ago. So there's no sense in starting. And now I'm just like, why the fuck was I on sugar for so long? Like,
Yeah.
it took fasting for a really long time, but like people are offering me fucking chocolate chip cookies and all this other shit. And then I'm seeing these people that come into the grocery store all the time because I see the whole community, and a lot of them are complaining about being sick all the time or hungover all the time and all this other shit, and they eat like shit.
Garbage.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
all the sugar, you got energy drop. That's what happened. You got a real good head
Okay, so
rush, and then the energy drop after that. That's what happened. That's why we talk about the complex sugar. When you get complex sugar, it just doesn't release all at one point. And yeah, with the good flour, it's the same.
we use fake sugar. It's called high fructose corn syrup. What it is, if you look at sugar is glucose and fructose. And in the early 80s, Coca-Cola was approached. This high fructose is twice as sweet because you remove the glucose. And so, boom. In my lifetime, I've never seen such obesity. And here's an example. There's a guy on YouTube, he has a Bobby Parrish, and he has a app, and you can scan the UPC code on a product and you can see if it's Bobby approved. So anyway, he has like, buy this, don't buy that kind of shit. He had a short today, and I believe it was Krispy Kreme, have this pumpkin latte. Are you ready for this?
oh no,
Uh, a hundred 128 grams of sugar in this fucking drink. A quarter pound is 112.
That's gross.
So
Garbage.
4.5 ounces of sugar
dude.
in this one drink. Oh, and let's get a muffin or a scone with your latte, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
right.
God.
Yeah, dude.
That stuff
Nah,
all just boosts your dopamine.
dude.
Ew, it's like such a dopamine rush.
Oh man. It's just your
What
body can't
you gonna say
your
to like
body can't handle it.
here?
That's
No.
garbage. It's like drugs.
Your gut flora and fauna, like your gut, well, excuse me, your gut biota and your
Exactly.
flora get fucking decimated and destroyed. And the first thing to come
Exactly.
are bad microbes that make you fucking
Yep.
want sugar.
Hey,
Just
by
feeding all
19
the bad stuff.
and it's estimated within 6 years, 30% of Americans will be diabetic or pre-diabetic. 30%. Look, this used to be an old person's disease. You didn't get it when you were 20 from having a Big Mac every day. And then it's, oh, let's stop for breakfast. I'll get a egg and muffin, and one of their drinks with 50, 60 grams of sugar in it. And by the time you get to work, you already have 100 grams
Crash.
of sugar. You're going to crash at 10 o'clock. So what do? You have another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Let's get the caffeine.
I follow
I
this
mean, I drink
guy.
caffeine, but yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I'm just go ahead.
Oh, I follow this guy. His name is Paul Saladino, and he's always talking about how, he's just like really into like the primal diet. So like he eats like meat,
Uh-huh.
raw dairy, raw cheese, fruit, and
Yeah.
honey. But it's really interesting, and he gets into on his Instagram, he'll be like talk about good toothpaste and, whatever. He's like the good guy in that way. But he'll bring up images and do interviews with older people just like back in the day in the 60s and the 70s. And like the majority of the United States, everybody was like pretty fit and skinny. Like it was completely different. And I will talk to my mom about it and she's like, yeah, like you didn't see like go to the beach and there's just like
You
tons of
can do,
like obese people and children and like fries were actually made in like tallow and food was like food. It was like, tallow or butter. It wasn't this like seed oil garbage that everybody's just
right.
consuming. And and she was like, yeah,
It's,
and you go back and you look, I mean, in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, like people were way more fit in this country and boy would they smoke. Everybody smokes cigarettes, and it's just really interesting to like see how far we've come. It's kind of sad.
anybody can do this on their home computer. Just look for photographs
Yep.
of downtown, say New York in the 40s,
People
and
look.
people walking, and then the 50s and 60s and 70s. And man, as soon as the 80s were over, man, that's when the shit started in the 80s with the
Yeah.
fructose. And you start looking at labels.
The banquet
High
chicken. Everybody thought
eh,
microwave food was so cool and it made you rich. So they
yeah,
started buying the scam of like boxed food and convenience.
exactly. Well, my motto is, can somebody drive me to the revolution? My Mercedes is in the shop.
Well, part of it is the corn lobby, right? You have this hugely subsidized corn lobby in the US that has a ton of power with
Soy and
senators.
corn.
Yeah,
Soy and
when we
corn.
And
talk about government cheese and the corn is quite linked
that's
together.
Oh,
well, that's why
hey,
10% of your
listen.
gasoline is ethanol now in most states.
Even
Same
the
reason.
your boxes is
It was
made
the Canadians that brought us the
Rapeseed
real
oil.
name should
rapeseed and
be
corn.
rapeseed oil, but we'll
Yeah.
call it canola because that sounds more groovy and move into a Mooney's child. So we now have canola oil and fucking everything. Canola oil, safflower oil, and soybean oil. If you look in the labels of products in America, and I'm sure Canada's not any different, you couldn't make the food industry had shut down. If you passed a law, it never happened. But if I'll even go let corn go with soybean, canola, and
Gross.
safflower. If you eliminated those three, the whole system had collapsed. And the worst one is the goddamn cottonseed oil. Think about cotton. No plant on this grown in the United States is as hit with as many herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides as cotton.
That's because they know we
Why?
wear it too.
Right, because that is a big part of it. Because it's not a food crop; it's
Mm-hmm.
a production crop, right? But through the act of Congress, meaning a donation, the seeds now can be taken and pressed for oil, if you're in Texas and you order fried foods, I promise you, in a fast food joint, I promise you it's going to be cottonseed oil. And then you got this cottonseed meal. Can you imagine putting that in your soil? As a because that's where all these anything that has the word meal on it had the oil pressed out of it, except for alfalfa. But everything else, flaxseed meal, soybean meal, those are all materials that had the oil pressed out, and this is the cake or the residue, the meal, whatever term you want to use. And most of it goes into livestock feed, but some of it's diverted to the wackadoodles like me that use it in soil in certain combinations to achieve specific nutrient profiles in our soils.
The one that's really messing people up is the flaxseed, because
Yeah.
that's fucking. If you eat a quarter cup of that, I guess it's like eating birth control.
Everybody
it's
thinks it's so healthy too.
I haven't
Yeah,
been
they're
following
big.
that really. Yeah.
So many people are like, "Oh, I take flaxseed for fiber." I'm like, "Oh,
It's
Well,
People are
Tiffany, you're
taking
like
it.
this.
People are taking it as a herbal birth control now. That's pretty wild.
well,
Hey, Tiffany,
they
I buy oat groats organic. They haven't been screwed with, they're still intact. And then I have a grain flaker that turns it into rolled oats. And so you do that right before the water's boiling. And so the oatmeal that you end up with has been sitting in a warehouse in a distribution center for 3 months. It's really different.
yeah." What do you guys think about oatmeal?
it's horrible for
I
you.
love.
Yup.
I'm sorry, Coot.
Why is that?
Well, just because of the nutritional value, that at least the studies that I've heard, they're saying that oatmeal, when you eat that, you're 80% hungrier than if you just eat a good protein breakfast. So they're saying that it's not nutritious for you, and it actually takes the nutrition out of your body.
It also
So
spikes your blood sugar because basically the carbohydrates in the oats are like rapidly converted to glucose and absorbed, so it just like spikes your blood sugar. And 90% of it at this point is like contaminated with
What
glyphosate.
What do you guys like for carrier oils? Like I'm a huge, my favorite is half sunflower oil, half sunflower lecithin for carrier oils for edibles, but coconut oil and MCT oil is okay in a pinch. But
well, what about the stuff that they have to use to get the sunflower oil or safflower oil, like, or not lecithin, but the sunflower oil? Don't they have to do the same process where they use chemicals to get it to an oil, then it turns rancid, then they use perfumes to get it back, and then they have to use a clarifying agent as well?
no, you can just use vitamin E. So you can use vitamin E acetate or organic vitamin E to plant-based vitamin E either way to achieve that. It's like 3%
The
to
acetate
stabilize it.
consumption, though?
Yeah. So there's vitamin E acetate. Most of the time, it's used in food products and skincare products. But yeah, you can definitely buy the fraction that's food safe. I've used it many times for products.
Okay. So yeah, but the different carrier oils also have different effects for your endocannabinoid system as well.
They have different absorption rates of different compounds. So, but I found that sunflower lecithin is the fastest uptake for sure.
And you get your sunflower oil like organic or regular?
I usually get organic. Yeah. Same thing
Okay.
with the lecithin. You can get organic lecithin as well.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe just use like beef tallow or lard, cook a burger in it.
Where it's at all day.
Just it's like decarboxylate with ghee and then cook some burgers and
My,
eggs.
I love ghee.
Ghee is amazing too. It's so
Yeah.
easy to make.
Yeah, I remember the earlier recipe for a good infused butter was making it with ghee, the Indian style. So
Mhm.
it's just clarify butter, right? You remove part
Yep.
of the butter when you boil it.
Yep.
And you can make bong from infused ghee.
You can even put it in your bong water.
The bang water. But the bang stuff that you talk about, it's infused in milk, right?
Well, she said
Yeah,
bong.
but you can increase the content with ghee. Also, too,
Okay.
so like if you take, and
No.
I haven't talked about this much publicly, but you can take like whey from your like lacto, like we were talking about earlier, and you can freeze dry it into like a powder, and then mix that with your infusion, especially if you're sonicating it, will increase the bioavailability and increase the speed
How
of
do you
uptake.
freeze
Because
dry? How do you freeze dry it?
we just put it in just a freeze dryer.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Um, but yeah, so we dehydrated a bunch. We did it both with a vacuum chamber and a dehydrator. It works both ways, but we basically just sucked the moisture out of it and then used that with our infusions when we sonicated. And that seemed
Mm.
to increase uptake as about as much as lecithin did in terms of speed of uptake.
Um, Jeremy Silva at Build a Soil had a family farm approach him, dairy, grass-fed herd in the hinterlands of Colorado, and they were making Kefir whey and using it as a fertilizer, adding fulvic acid to it, and I don't have the list of ingredients, but you get the idea. And
Yeah.
so the dosage rate is 1 to 2 ounces per gallon. My own experience is if your soil's good, you can get by with half an ounce, so a tablespoon to a gallon. And they're calling it Holy Cow, which is pretty neat. And it's pretty magical. Now, when you take a gallon of milk, say you go and you buy really good milk, grass fed, all that organic, and you put in the inoculant pieces, they call it grains, but it's not a grain. And then so now you have kefir and you have to strain it to separate the curds from the whey. You're going to lose at least 50% by volume. But now you end up with a cream cheese. Or if you don't let it go that long, you can stop the strain dripping, and when it's like the consistency of yogurt. I mean, there's a number of things. You don't have to go. You let it go till it's hard, actually. And the way what's cool about it is you don't have to keep it refrigerated if you're using it as a fertilizer. So now the problem is you can't go buy clean whey. Excuse me, kefir. It's all got emulsifiers. Um,
You
you know,
can you can get it on Amazon. What I usually do when I'm making a new lab batch, and I like to just make a mother culture and then keep that culture going.
yeah.
Um, and that seems to be the better way to go. And then I just add diversity to
Oh,
it
I
like once
agree.
every month or two.
Yeah,
So I'll order like 5 or 6 different producers of kefir grains, and then I'll also do my local rice collection so I get the yeasts.
yeah.
And then I just combine all that. And then when I start my next batch, I just take a little bit of the previous batch to seed
If
my
you're
next one. And then I'll throw
if
some of
you're
it in the fridge in
interested,
case I have a problem.
I have the list of both water kefir as well as the milk kefir grains, the complete list of bacteria culture labs, as well as the fungi colonies. And right off the bat, the milk kefir is up in the 45 to 50 range total. whereas the water kefir grains are down in the, it's still more than yogurt. About double the best yogurt I've seen has 9. Nancy's out of Eugene, Oregon, has 9 cultures. But this is about 18 to 20 between, but it has the advantage of having bacteria and fungi. So,
I haven't seen much in terms of difference in plant growth with the water kefirs compared to the milk based.
oh,
I've
really?
always used milk based, but we tried twice. I've run the water kefir and I just didn't notice much
The
of anything in
Bicos?
terms of growth difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't care for it because of the use of sugar. I mean, I find that my diabetes is in remission, but so I mean, what's the word? Court disaster by taking fucking brown, I don't care if it's brown or green, the sugar is sugar, and stick it in water and sticking some goddamn microbes in it. I never have been able to get a straight answer because to me it tastes sweet. So not all the sugar is being digested. So
Might as well just stay away from it then, huh?
yeah, go get a bottle of Perrier, call it a day, It's not that big a deal. So hey, so it's the 21st, which is what, this week, I guess, will mark 90 days. Yeah, 90 days since summer that I've been doing the intermittent fasting. You got to look into that one.
I did 110
14.
hours. The first 2 days I did no liquids, and then I was doing research and found out that after 48 hours it's bad for your kidneys.
Oh
So
yeah, for
I
sure.
was thinking
No, I mean
just
intermittent in this sense. Like I ate all my entire daily food intake is between the hours of 9 and 7. So that gives me 14 hours of fasting.
once you get to 17 hours, I believe ketosis sets in, isn't it? And
Wait, are
then
Yeah.
you talking about eating windows and intermittent fasting?
Yeah, exactly.
I just started doing 8.
Good
How
for
what is
you.
how does everybody feel about that? I'm just curious. Like, have you guys
I just it's converted over to 14 10 14 fasting 10-hour eating window. Just because of lifestyle and everything, but I did the 16-8 like you're doing for the first 2.5 months, almost 2 3/4 months. And I still sometimes will go, to 16. It's nothing's cast in stone. For me, breakfast is more of a habit. And as long as I can have some black coffee or black tea, I don't have to, I'm not, like chomping at the bit to have breakfast.
what did you notice like changed or like you know
Clarity, mentally clarity, ability, concentration, focus.
did it get
Um,
better?
yeah, yeah, for me it sure did.
yeah,
But I
I
go for long walks. I mean, I start out my day with a 45-minute walk in a nature preserve. And then after breakfast, I go walk again to get rid of the sugar spike. So, yeah, I use Ayurvedic medicines to control the diabetes, the blood sugar. Like I said, I put it in remission. I lost almost 90 pounds. So,
Wow.
yeah, I like it. If I can get myself back to the stop eating before 3 p.m., Like I wake up at 9 p.m. and stop eating by 3 p.m. That's when it's good. But after the third day of not eating is where I feel like the clarity really
That's hard.
kicks.
Yes. But you can achieve the same thing, and I promise you that by the time you hit day 14 of the what Tiffany's describing, and it's generally referred to as intermittent fasting, just for we're talking about the same thing. Um, you get this real sense of mental clarity that more analytical. You're not as
Nice.
not as much of a need to rush to judgment. And I don't
Right.
mean that in a, you know.
I can speak to all of what you're all talking about, really, because I dramatically changed my life. I had a bit of health scare. I had cameras gone down looking for cancer and everything. I wasn't feeling very well. I was getting a bit puffy, a bit fat, and everything else. And I went to the doctor and I had shock and health or inflammation and everything else. And I took it upon myself just to, after listening to a few people's stories and stuff, dealing with dodgy guts and everything else, like most people do, you just get labelled with IBS and all this bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done the carnivore, and within 4 weeks, I'd lost 15 kilos. All that fat had gone. My inflammation had gone down in my blood. My HDL had gone up. My LDL had gone down. I'm putting on muscle. I'm 50 odd years old and I'm gaining fucking muscle and I ain't even really doing anything. All I've done is just eliminated all the shit. And it's really easy to do, just eating beef,
Yeah.
butter. You just eliminate everything that's bad. You know, who knows what's bad out there, but I do know that the beef and butter isn't doing anything bad to anybody.
And are you doing like an eating window too when you are eating those things? Or
Yeah.
you're eating whatever
No.
you want?
No. Well, I try and do the 1 meal a day, and
Mm.
I eat a shitload of right. My average meal is I eat a fillet steak, 2/4 pound of burgers, 3 sausages, and it's all loaded up with cheese, and I'll put a big old dollop of butter on everything.
And you're 50 and you're like gaining muscle. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, like what Coot was then saying, the mental clarity and everything else. I just feel alive, right?
Beef
And I
is
thought
magical.
at first I thought, oh, this is just I feel great. But now I know it's just what we're all supposed to feel like. Normal is
Pretty
to feel
much.
fucking alive.
Yeah. Our ancestors didn't eat any of the shit that we eat today. And they didn't eat all day until all hours of the night and bags of garbage food, they ate from the land. I feel so cheesy saying ancestrally, but
Hey,
they ate like
even
whole
our
food.
even our, well, maybe not yours, but mine. So your great grandparents will say
Oh, I feel
sugar
like
was
my
fucking
grandparents ate like that too.
sugar was fucking expensive.
They were farmers.
Yeah, my people were they were farmers in Missouri. Not dirt poor, I might add. Not very good farmers, as things turned out. But regardless, it was just a hard scrapple life, man. I mean, like my great grandmother, she died at the age of 31 from cholera, 6 months after her baby had died of cholera. Cholera, have you ever even heard of anybody in your life? I know I haven't. That died of cholera. You'd have to go to, Asia or Africa, I would
Oh,
think.
cholera,
South,
I guess if you were in the trench in the Second World War, maybe, but since a while, there's not as many cholera
yeah,
outbreak.
right. I'm just saying
Not,
that, what look, most of the diseases that afflicts the citizens in North America it's self-induced. You can't
Yeah.
eat this shit and expect to be anything but sick.
Yeah.
Diabetes, obesity. I mean, when you see people, the leading cause of adult onset blindness in Oregon is diabetes. The leading cause of amputations, feet, legs, hands, is nerve damage caused by diabetes.
Glycogen, glycation. That's exactly that's what it is. Glycation is aids inflammation. You know, any sugar, any processing of the sugar ages you. Basically,
Yeah.
it ages your cells on the mitochondria. Fructose poisons it. It stops the cells. You know, it's damaging to your mitochondria, which gives you all your energy. So in order to
Yep.
process
Feed your
the
brain.
fructose at a higher demand, it makes you feel more tired. It's whole stupid the way we've been taught and everything. I believe this is a depopulation agenda, and that all the food, the processed food, is slow drip poisoning into people to make them sick and to make them dependent upon the system.
And to make them stupid.
Yeah.
Isolate. I've worked at one place where we're raising grass-fed Highland, and I've really noticed a difference in the type of meat for that type of beef itself. So, are you eating organic, real English bred cow?
Yeah. Organic
Like, we're gonna go a
it's-
bit patriotic on that one,
Regenerative.
but we talk about old food. I know a bit about those old breed, and they really are different on the fat content. They are different on different aspect, you know. But they were well bred for here, and when the farmer was working on, said, "Oh, we want to get some good beef because the guy were not eating meat." Most of the time, because they were against the processed meat and the corn-fed meat, whatever, and they wanted the
You know, it's
real
really good.
grass-fed beef.
I wanted to point out,
Bison.
just because we're on the topic of beef, that there is currently an outbreak in Wyoming and I think in one other state of wild anthrax for the first time in decades in the U.S. When I was in Zimbabwe, there was wild anthrax outbreaks in the country a couple times, but this is the first time this has happened in the States in a long time. I just wanted to point that out because it was like a wild beef related news thing that came up this week.
No shit.
But like when you talk about the quality of the meat, when you see the meat that's being sold with all the marbling in it, and people are going for all this, you know, the grain finished meat because it makes the cows fat. They're just basically making the cows diabetic and insulin resistant, which makes them store fat, which is what we do. You know, it's a basic process. You get insulin resistance, you start storing adipose tissue fat.
Yeah, but you know how you make a horse meat taste better? You take an old horse and let it in the barn for 2 years, and you're gonna be more tender. Because otherwise you get all the tendon that make it kind of stiff meat, and it's too lean.
Did you say horse meat?
Yeah, that's how they do to get the better horse meat, let's say. And I was interested in knowing, like, we like a younger animal for, like, say, beef. Really, the it's more tender. But for the horse, you want the old horse. It's still good or tender.
You've been hanging out with RFK again.
RFK.
That dude,
Hey,
did you see
Tiffany.
he's under federal investigation for chainsawing the head off of a whale? I
Holy
thought that was
shit.
just hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Yeah,
somebody's showing a photo of weed while we're talking about chainsawing. I was like,
That's distraction. You know, we don't want to trigger too much.
but wait, eating horse? I'm all like, wait, what?
Yeah, in France and Europe.
Okay.
Hey, Tiffany.
And like
I lived in Europe for
especially
quite a long
Eastern
time.
Europe.
Never saw a horse.
Okay, so
Tiffany,
I just
in
want to
World
say
War
that horse meat, I've been ate for a while in different region, let's say.
Yeah, totally.
But it's a lot of a bad memory for some people because it's like the working animal and kind of pet, so we don't see horse as the like choice meat, you know, that's for sure. But it's not that bad.
World
It's
War
different.
II in the United States was beginning of a lot of, well, even before that, but especially then, beef was going overseas to the soldiers. And so horse meat became, you know,
More
whatever.
prevalent, yeah.
Yeah, more prevalent, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's in Kazakhstan too. I mean, I had it a couple of times. I went to a birthday party and my wife's
Uh-huh.
brother ate it, and I ate it. I mean, they eat a bunch of horse in Kazakhstan.
I ate camel in Morocco.
yeah, that's one thing
Exactly.
I was about to say, that
I ate
for
camel
me,
with the Berber.
eating camel will be a bit more strange.
It was delicious.
Yeah, right?
It
It
was
sounds
really
like
big too. The burger was like nothing I've ever seen before. It was
Hey,
huge.
I had reindeer in Alaska, so
Ooh, deer is so good.
I I was talking with someone that have lived in Africa for a while, and she was telling me how most of the time she had no idea what type of meat it was in in the food, but the seasoning and the cooking was making it really good. So she did not wanted to really know, and she said, I still enjoyed what I was eating as long as I don't know what it is."
There's this episode on Hamilton on Vice, and they eat vulture brains to get high in certain parts of Africa. So I
Oh,
wonder.
vulture brain.
Never,
Yeah.
never, ever fucking eat brains, especially for traveling. Brains can have prion diseases, and you
Yeah.
can once you get a prion, you're fucked. There's no undoing that.
Yeah, don't get high on brains, guys.
No,
But
but never eat brains. Like a lot of part of the world will make soup and sausage and stuff out of the brains. Like never eat brain. Like never eat brain of any animal.
Yeah, that's
Just
gross.
not safe.
Shouldn't really eat organ meat,
Well,
really.
what's
Yeah.
crazy with
Especially
prions?
liver,
So
like
prion,
like that
like
Paul
for instance,
Saladino.
you have the what's the chronic wasting disease in ungulates? So like horses and elk and deer can all get this, and it's a prion disease, which is a malformed protein that your body then replicates when you eat it. But it can actually get into the soil and live and be uptaken by the plants and be in the plant tissue of like grass or clovers and shit like that. So like it stays in the environment like after the animal's death, which is like fucking crazy.
So wait, so does it get into just the elk brain or the elk meat?
So it gets into the brain, but it's in the meat at late stage. But there have been cases of it getting to humans. But
Man, I
no, I
ate
think
so
there's
much
three
elk.
cases.
Oh, when I was in Montana, I ate a lot of elk. Damn.
Well, you can send it out to be tested. Like you can slaughter the animal and then just wait for your results to
there's
come back.
so
But
many elk in Montana.
unless it's an early
So
infection, you can
tasty.
usually kind of tell.
It's in
Like if you're stalking an elk, like you're gonna tell if it's got neurological disorders, right? Like,
I
Twixen.
wasn't hunting it. I was just
oh,
partaking.
the
Isn't that
herds,
summer?
the herds that I've seen during off season when you're not allowed to hunt, they seem to sense that. I mean, number in the thousands. I mean, you get them in downtown Seaside out in the ocean water. I can post a picture to show you. It's insane. And they're protected by federal law, so you can't even annoy the goddamn things. And they just walk through the intersection, stop traffic. It's unbelievable.
if the elk look like they're at like Night of the Roxbury's, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
then
Yeah,
they,
it's
they definitely
unreal.
have an issue going on. No, but so I've seen elk in Colorado that have chronic wasting disease, and they're like emaciated and like they look
Oh no,
fucked
no,
up.
no. No,
Like unless it's the
these
really
are
beginning of the infection, like they look all fucked up looking, and they kind of like
hey,
wander
these
around. Their balance is a little off. They
no,
kind of
no,
look,
no.
they
These
look
come in
off.
herds. You got the bull, you got the primary mate, the other females, and their offsprings. I mean, this is a family unit, and they travel in big packs. 3 or 4 families at a time just come wandering in the seaside and other cities along the coast, as they have been for, I don't know about millions, but definitely tens of thousands of years. And just because rich white people decided this would be a great place to build a beach house hasn't changed the same forest, the same animals. You know, it's like in Humboldt County, some regions are pretty remote. Most of the Oregon coast is pretty remote.
The human version of that is Crooksfield-Jacob disease, I think it's called. When that
CJD,
jumps to humans.
mad cow disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
we've
Oh,
got a
okay,
lot of it.
mad cow.
We've got a lot of it in our country. There's been undiagnosed. They don't want to diagnose it and tell people that the beef they ate 10 years ago is the reason why they can't walk straight and they're losing their abilities and they're just dying inside themselves slowly. And there's a big thing about it. There's like all these
Yeah,
sort of medical scandals
yeah.
that have gone on.
It's still the
They were
sugar.
refeeding the cow to the cow. So,
Yeah.
when we talk about reformed meat, that was just get get a higher protein level in the meal they were giving back. They did
But
that to the pig. They did that to the chicken.
my question is, let's say all that's true, or it is true. Doesn't the constant assaulting of the human body with the sugars day after day after day, from the time you get up, the cereal you eat, the coffee that you drink, the muffin you have at the drive-through? I mean, the amount of sugar the average American eats has increased by 33% in 20 years.
But it can't be all sugar because in Thailand, it's got to be a lot to do with the carbs too. Because in Thailand, dude, as Tiffany knows, the version of Coke there is like 6 times the sugar. The
Oh,
mayonnaise is
hey,
like 8 times
they're
sweeter.
food.
Like everything
They're
is pure
dishes.
sugar.
You can't cook Thai cuisine without some form, 2 or 3 forms of sugar, palm sugar. Uh, yeah, I know. I
They
mean,
like the sweet.
they love it sweet, sweet and spicy. Hits all the four notes: salty, spicy, or salty, hot, whatever the four
I was really
senses
sad
are.
to see all the seed oils though. I was really
Yeah.
bummed. Everything is like these like oil blends that they cook in. I was pretty
Oh
bummed by
yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like in
Well,
plastic. And it's like
well, that's
super
what
hot already.
Tiffany,
No,
that's where they come up with the name
I
vegetable oil.
I
Read the
had that
label.
problem.
It may contain. It says it may contain, meaning that whatever truck arrives to fill up the
No,
tanks,
Yeah,
Well,
they're
that's
using.
whatever we got.
all
they use
canola.
Yeah.
fucking soy oil to fry like omelets and shit. I used to
Yeah,
have to be
all
like,
the
Oh
food they
yeah.
cook
put
in
it
is
in.
just like gnarly oils.
Yeah, it used to make me so sick. Like I used to have to be like,
Same.
no, I need
Uh,
to cook it in butter, not soy oil,
And
because I would get so
And I'm
sick.
like, how are they so fucking skinny? I'm like, you guys are eating. But I mean, they walk everywhere and it's hot. Lots of fruit.
Yeah, I was getting sick with soy oil for a while, but I did not notice why it was that exactly till I realized that I was using, garlic and onion and some hot pepper and oil, letting it sit in it, and I was using that in my rice or pasta. And at one point, I started to do a batch with sunflower oil, and I've noticed, I'm not sick as often. And my friend told me like, I don't know, man. Every time I eat margarine with soy in it or palm oil, a lot of palm oil, you say
oh,
I'm
palm
getting more
oil. Come
sick.
on.
And I was like, palm oil? That's the reason
That's the
why I don't
worst.
eat margarine anymore. Because every time that there's a lot of palm oil in it, I always taste it, and the texture is strange to me.
But,
I've been raised with hydrogenated margarine, and it wasn't
Evil,
that much better, but it was tasting better.
That was another
evil.
thing that our parents were told that back in the day that margarine was like way healthier than butter
Yeah,
and
that was supposed to.
the Kool-Aid.
Before that, okay, this goes back to the 20s, 100 years ago. The dairy industry had a lot more muscle. It still have a lot of muscle, don't get me wrong, but it had even more muscle then because they contributed more to the political parties. You could not sell yellow margarine. You could sell white margarine and a packet of yellow food coloring that you had to mix with the white, which looks like Crisco. You know why it looked like Crisco? Because that's what it is.
That's pretty much
Okay.
the same.
That's what it is. And so you would add the yellow food dye, whatever you call it, and mix it up, and all of a sudden it looks like butter. Better. They used to have a brand called Better Than Butter. What in the fuck does that mean? Better than butter.
Can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The the thing with that is, yeah, sure, it may spread well over your bread, but I really don't enjoy the taste. I think it got something that made me really sick because I was
Eat
using it
real
to
food.
fry in it, you
Go
know.
go out and get out in nature every day,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times. I
Yeah.
mean, this isn't rocket science. Sit in
Well,
front of a
Didn't
screen, you know.
didn't Fabio used to do the can't believe it's not butter? Didn't he like get hit in the face with a goose doing one of those commercials? I feel like I remember that.
yeah.
Probably.
When they put it into the spray pump,
Um, I don't know if he
and
was. I don't know if he was shooting a commercial, but he was definitely riding a roller coaster when he got smoked
Hey,
in the nose by a goose.
I was at Costco
Pretty
and
sure it's on film too.
they had some wafer, like a layer wafer and fudge layer wafer, you know, that kind of cookie. And they were all
next,
individual packaged, and they had like 8 or 9 something different flavors, all different brightly colored packets. So between my wife and I, we tried 4 of them, different flavors. I swear to God, you could not tell the taste. You could not tell the difference from the vanilla, from the hazelnut, from the chocolate, and the strawberry. It's just amazing. Just sugar. That's it.
yep. Yeah, the parents that buy their kids the things here, like they're not allowed to have a piece of cake, but they're allowed to have a muffin, and they're not
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah.
have
I love it.
they're not allowed to have a sugary soda, but then they go grab them a Gatorade,
Yeah.
and then they have like these pre-packaged, pre-made, individually packaged crepes and all these other like foods that their parents allow them to get, but they're not allowed to have like sugary stuff. And I'm just like, holy fuck, like you're not even reading the back of the ingredients. Like you're basically
Uh,
infusing the shit out of your kid and giving them the exact same thing in a different form.
Are
And
you a
like,
I've
Costco
lived
shopper?
with I've lived with the organic chemistry and for uh, about a year, and we're like exchanging each other about that kind of thing. And at one point he said, I've turned it nearly into the cult of eating everything raw and whatever. It's because he was starting to realize that there is a reason why we go on certain way to use like the chemistry on our own advantage, have a longer shelf and stuff like that. But at one point it get into like the hydrogenated fat. That's because at room temperature it get a better texture, it hold better, so it doesn't melt like that. And he was like, well, that's that kind of thing that made me doubt that I want to work in it any longer. So he went into more a healthy lifestyle, and you know but that's really studying that made him change his ID. Because at first he was just into yeah, knowing what's about, how to make, why it work. Like let's say just cheese, why the cheese tastes different, and how they make it into that factory cheese that it it seemed so more equal every batch, the way that they make it. I was talking with a guy that was working in one of those factories. He was like, we start with pretty much the same ingredient and make all those different type of cheese. I was like, yeah, but those modified milk substance, there's something we should not be that happy. Okay, maybe you guys in the USA could be that happy because a lot of it is imported on that form, because you cannot have the same taxation on that, and it's way more stable, way more easy to ship. But it's not real cheese. You don't. A lot of more local place where they make cheese for fresh cheese, they started to use that to decrease their cost of production, even if they were not into that type of cheese, because it's really makes something more bland at one point. It just they add it so that they don't have to buy as much milk and have a better protein content, if I remember.
It's not cheese.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just not the same thing. Like if
You know,
you
there's
can make
real.
Gouda with the same thing that your mozzarella, I don't know that much about cheese, but there's something make me think that it's not the same.
Well, it's the same. I mean, you're starting with milk and you're using rennet, but it comes down to what animal are you using? What milk? You using cattle? Using sheep? Using goat?
Yeah.
Camel? Trying to think of other animals that are used for dairy. So you have that. You have also how they're cured, but it's all
Buffalo.
about biology. It's all about biology and how long you let that fermentation go. So the harder the cheese, the longer the storage. That's how you preserve food.
With
That
the
was a
factory
way.
cheese, if I can say
It's not cheese. It's just
it's a bit
they make it
different.
look like cheese, call it cheese, and it becomes that's why it's called cheese product, cheese
Yeah.
food. Okay, you're not comparing it to a brie
Uh,
or
It's always weird to me
Vermont
how much
cheddar or
Americans are like weird about goat cheese. Like it's so good and much
it
richer. Like it
is.
seems like people and that and like poutine. Poutine, if you explain the recipe to poutine, is the most American sounding recipe you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like some of your meals. It's just the way you put it together.
We buy
Yeah.
the organic feta cheese from Costco, which is made with goat's milk. It has that really nice
Velveeta.
salty flavor. Oh, there you go, Velveeta. See,
Yeah.
you're a craft grower now.
Oh,
Hey,
You need
I like
that.
the photos you
24's
put.
new strain Velveeta.
Yeah, you need the Velveeta in your burger with some Hawaiian
No, that's the
punch.
problem. When it comes to having a hamburger, that kind of cheese, it's air quotes, is the best. It melts the best. It gives you this really, really, I mean, it's not good for, I'm not saying any of that, but when it comes to hamburgers or making a grilled cheese sandwich, nothing's better. That's the problem.
get out of here,
Because it
dude.
melts. It's not real cheese, man.
I was trying to find our Wagyu at $140 a pound. I think we finally sold it.
Yeah.
You know, never mind. We bought some at Costco. I didn't like it. There's something like it's really soft. There's no structure to it.
I mean, I really like to make grilled cheese sandwiches with like Gouda or Gruyere or other things of
Oh
that nature.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wait, why are you at a grocery store? Such closed and dark?
Oh, I'm done closing and counting the drawers, and then I saw everybody was on today, and it was a great conversation. So I figured I'd just
He's the
stick around.
manager, Tiffany.
Oh, I was like, that's spooky. You're like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go eat snack.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Gorski
go eat a
is
brick
just
of
going in the
raw
grocery
cheese.
store.
Yeah, I'm just breaking into the store right now. I just figured I'd be covert about it. I got an alibi. I was on YouTube.
You're like, I just
Yeah.
totally stayed here until they shut down, hiding in the
Yeah.
corner in my headphones.
He just
Garski
breaks
is
in
our
and then he serves the homeless. It's kind of like a Robin Hood kind of situation.
Nice.
It's like Garski is trying to go incognito, and he's like, oh yeah, let's go stream it on YouTube, you know.
You know, that would
You
be
never
really
know what
funny.
store I'm in.
That would be really funny to like break into a restaurant and just cook a bunch of food for and give it all away.
You turn back the open sign and free food.
That would be a good YouTube series where you just like stay in stores until they close, like Walmart and stuff, and camp out. You
Right.
just like stay in like the local stores. You're like, here I am.
Full of bad Santa.
all the stuff I used to embellish, all the stuff I used to imbibe. Nowadays, I look at it as like something that would drain my wallet.
It
And
does.
your adrenal glands. Just kidding.
And your life force. I've been
Every
there.
once in a while.
Yeah. I lost the right.
Oh, look at that. That look amazing, but a bit too expensive for me.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, like,
Ah.
I guess that would be the one thing that would be hard to turn down. Maybe, just maybe, if someone got off there and like we're like, "Hey, you want a shot of Louis?" I'd be like, "Just let me smell it. I don't want to drink it. Just let me smell it."
Yeah, I'm on the fence of like I enjoy good alcohol, but I've just decided to not drink for a while, or like maybe just one drink or two, and that's it. Because I know I can enjoy a lot of it without being drunk and hungover and regret my evening. So
Hey,
I think
Gorski,
yeah, sorry.
I gotta go. I gotta go. But there's a phrase used in drug addiction: chasing the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll leave
Yeah,
you with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
What? I mean, when you get your H on the table and hit it with the heat, and then chase it with the foil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had over 50 years ago, I had a little problem, China White.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's in a movie called Killing Zoe. If you've never seen it, but yeah, man. No,
drugs are fun. Yeah.
no. I
Heroin, yeah, that'll do it.
think the only time I ever had smack hit my dome was when I ate a roll that was called an oatmeal cookie double stack, and it had black fragments in it. So I don't know what they used as the binding agent, but later on I found out it had H. So that was I didn't do it intentionally, but
Yeah. Oh,
it
I
was at
did.
a
I was very intentional,
yeah,
daily,
yeah.
three
I know
times.
we've come around the bend, man. It's there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with just being clean and sober and happy, or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, hey, I appreciate you, man. I seen you on a couple times, but thanks for the inspiration on eating healthy and staying healthy, because it really has helped out quite a bit, man. It's
I think you'll
pretty.
find what Tiffany's doing, and I still do. I just change my hours in it. It's not all that structured, but doing it, having a period like I'm done eating for the day. Instead I was like everybody else. I was a grazer. Just one more bowl of ice cream. Well, I know a cup of tea with some, sugar, all that shit. You just got to cut it up. Now, tea's fine. Drink it black, or coffee, black, or green tea, black. Drink all you want. Don't enhance it. Well, I just know a little bit of sugar and cream.
I've been doing cacao. So I've been doing 100% cacao in water
Cacao is really good for your
with
brain.
cayenne.
Yes,
So check this
cacao is.
out.
With cayenne pepper and a little bit of
I got.
baking soda.
I got a name for you, Doctor
Yeah.
Michael Lee, Li. He's an American, obviously Chinese American. He's one of the top nutrition researchers. He's brought over 24 products to market through FDA. Follow him on YouTube, and he's got foods that could repair your DNA, like kiwi fruit, things like that. And cacao is way up there. Not chocolate, not the way it's a Hershey bar doesn't cut it.
No.
We're talking cacao powder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just put a spoonful of that in my morning water. In the morning, I just do Celtic sea salt with some baking soda. Like the first half hour, I'm up, and then we've got chicken, so then I just do eggs, and then later, like while I'm driving to work, I'm just eating some burger, and that's
But
basically.
Do you do coffee?
No, I gave it up. It's been 3 weeks since I've
Okay.
drank
Okay. Never mind.
caffeine. Yeah, I just find that the oxytocin, the fight or flight direction is like I've just been a fucking spaz for a really long time. Like people just call me crazy because I'm just, the guy that'll sing and do weird shit. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like I I've been on like a pot or 2 pots of coffee a day for the last like
Oh no, that's still excessive. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, man,
No,
I gave it up. I just said fuck it. So
no, no, no. I turned it into a
and yeah,
pop drink
thanks.
with sugar and cream. You know, coffee. It wasn't coffee anymore. It was a latte or
Yeah.
some kind of.
No, I give up all dairy too, dude. Like I just saw that I was just a dumpster that fed myself all these things and when I was fasting for like a week, I've done it a couple times now, but when I fasted for a week, I saw like it was a go-to. So like when I was feeling sad or down or whatever, I'd all of a sudden want to eat like mac and cheese or some bacon,
Comfort foods, sure. Yeah.
and it's just like fuck that shit, dude. So now I'm starting to eat my own seeds. Like all those pictures that I posted on the group chat was like everything seeded up outside too. So I'm gonna try to understand how to harvest the leaves and juice the leaves off my plants, and then start eating
Hmm.
the seeds, and then using the roots for soups and stuff.
I can tell you one
for the
thing.
seeds.
This is
Sorry,
true of
Coot.
any seed. I don't care what it is, a grain, even a legume. If you'll sprout them, just germinate them till they just show a taproot and then dry them.
Yeah.
You activate enzymes. That's what's called malting. That's what malted barley is. It's barley grain that's been germinated. And then you stop it and arrest it. And now you can store it for years. But that adds to the bioavailability of the nutrients that are in that food. It puts it in a form that is more bio accessible for your body. Anyway, check it out. Sprouted
Oh,
grains.
no, I like that
Sprout,
idea. That's great, man. I didn't mean to hold you up too long, but thanks for being you, man. I appreciate you.
oh, you're welcome. Hey guys, I gotta go. It's late.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
All right, Coot. Have a
I'll
good
see you
night.
next week. Bye bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night, Tiffany. Bye bye.
I just added the Instagram. I just seen on the side chat that someone Steve was searching for Gorski Instagram. I've put it on our Instagram chat.
Yeah. Yeah, check it out. If anybody wants anything, just hit me up in the DMs. I'm always giving seeds away. There's no need
I
to
wanted to say about the seeds that you made me think is all the phenotype that you don't think are worth to plant again. You do exactly what Kut told you about malting it or just preserving like that for food production. Well, for using as food. And I would say for me, at one point, I've started to a test on a week to eat only protein from hemp. And the first 2 days, I was really feeling the difference. Like, when you eat a lot of meat, sometimes you feel more heavy. But with hemp seeds, it just you don't you don't feel as heavy, and you still have that energy, and you get some good fat and antioxidant and everything. It's really a good source of seed. To eat as a seed, it's really
Yeah.
one of the most nutritious one you can get in a way.
the omega fatty acids.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to. It took me forever too, because I was celebrating something with my wife the other night. We went like for a hike, and it was really nice, and saw the sunset, and kind of just got back into our relationship. Oh yeah, it was for her birthday, and I had a bag of seeds in my pocket, um, and I was just like, because I always give out can of seeds, give out little centrifuges full of seeds and stuff. And this time I had like a baggie full of seeds, and I was like, "Hey, you want to try some seeds?" And she's like, "You're finally gonna eat your seeds?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's been 5 years I've been growing plants with seeds. I think I could do it. You think so? And then like both of us had like a handful of seeds of like one of my favorite cultivars. And I was like, I did it.
Oh man, I can
Oh, I
tell
did
you
it.
that at one point we started to have a preference for some variety, but sadly some of them were also good as flowers, so we're not sure. We wanted really to get rid of all those seeds. We're like, oh, maybe you could plant them and harvest the female, but at the same time, if it's seeded again, we'll have the same dilemma that are we keeping the seeds of those best one to replant and we eat the rest? So it been like the consensus that if we really think they're not worth to grow again, we eat them. And I just,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just getting to the point. I mean, like if you look at my page, I'm getting to the point where I've got everything from 2023 that grew outside back into the ground again, and it all sprouted. And then it's just like cross banging. So like there's so many seeds out there that if I'm gonna do my intentional breeding, I segregate my plants and such, but I'm gonna have so many fucking seeds, dude. I
Yeah,
I
I
can
remember I've
start
talked
keeping
about
it.
what could happen with your the way that you're growing in those seeds, but there is something in a field of amalgamate variety, let's say in Pakistan that they bring seeds from Afghanistan, different region in Pakistan and stuff. Well, it keep their place healthy, and they say that few years it may be some phenotype that work better, and other years it's some others. It depends how much rain you had, or So they were saying that as long the plant is healthy enough to pass through, its genetic, they were thinking it wasn't that bad. But if you're really working for a specific trait, those traits are not necessarily lost right away, but there are some of those traits that may be kind of hidden and may be lost through time because there's natural selection have his own set of traits that are more dominant and will hide the others. And so that's where you want to maybe lean some of your selection early on. But as long that you're keeping those that suit you, you
Yeah, it's been
you're
for
always
the
gonna
last
get a healthy breed.
yeah,
It's not really important to have all the field that it's exactly the same if you're not making production. Yeah, you're aiming for adapted variety that will always perform, and everything that doesn't set your standard, you get rid of it in the early generation, and you won't get as much of the bad stuff, but sure, you will get some diversity. Some of the phenotype you enjoy, and you keep seeds of it 2, 3, 4 generations in a row, you will always see some influence of it later on because it will become dominant.
I
yeah,
So
wanted to give a
yeah,
shout out to Luna's got these cool. I just wanted to show you guys these cool seed containers. So
yeah.
it's a chillum, and the bowl of the chillum is like where your seeds go, and there's a little cap for it. And then when you're done with your seeds, you have a chillum that you can smoke. I thought that was just really fucking cool as like a cool seed container that has like some function to it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, I really I like the whole shit. Trevor or Sun Grown Mids, he had an episode just a little while ago, and he has all the data on the people that were growing back in the 1800s, and they did maize and they did beans and they did dominant and recessive traits and stuff.
yeah,
So you're always going to have a population if you keep on introducing new phenotypic expressions or new breeders to your population, then you're going to have like your variety in general. And so you're going to have your very small plants and your very tall plants. You're going to have your early pollinators and your late pollinators. But even though I've been growing the plants together, you still have so much phenotypical variations. I remember, Steve, you're talking about like in Jamaica or in fields where they had like every single kind of plant you could think of, where they didn't like neck down the population and just grow from clones. It was mostly like from seeds. Which place were you talking about that had that
That was
field?
in Jamaica. Hold on, I can
Yeah.
pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like just did these huge open pollinations, and there's like a shit ton of different cultivars.
Yeah. And that's what kind of makes me happy. And when I'm doing the seeds too, I don't have to worry about spraying for pests because I'm looking for more of a like the genetics to train themselves instead of me
Yeah.
making any selection whatsoever.
And
The
you know what I've described it to some new grower, whatever they wanted to remake your own seeds. I said the plant that produce the most bud from that are fully seeded from the start will always be those that will transmit that kind of trait. So it gives you a really good idea that if it would not be seeded, that bud will be really nice, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could only imagine what my plants would smell like without seeds because they'd be producing more.
Yeah, there will be phasing on that. I like the small calyx pinky pistil on it. Pretty.
Yeah,
What
this
part?
was on the south side of the island in southern Westmoreland. You can look in the back, the top left, you'll see the ocean in the background once in a while.
What time of the season was that? Is that a little because they
This
have
was
12?
in this was in April or March.
Oh wow.
Hold on.
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that.
March or April. Yeah, no, it was definitely April because we did 420 out there
Nice.
in that part of the island. Yeah, there's the ocean. Yeah, it was if you were like breeding and looking for traits and stuff, it was awesome. But if you were looking to, there wasn't a pound of any particular pheno in that whole field, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can see there's a huge amount of variety, and even in Africa, they had more uniformity than this. This was the most
Yeah,
diverse
that's
field
true.
I ever saw. That was in
It's funny
flower, at
because
least.
the people I knew that had some picture of Jamaica in the 90s, you would not see the same type of plant than that.
No, these are
It
all.
really changed the last 20 years
Yeah,
a
this
lot.
is really Western influence. You can see they're all small. Like
Yeah.
the sativas
Yeah.
that were here before are much bigger. Like when you do see Rainbow Kush or some of the other ones that they call
Yeah.
it down there that are the native ones, not native ones. You know what I mean? They're more local land race stock. They end up much larger plants, whereas most of these are just the
Yeah.
indicas that tolerated the heat, basically.
Because the guy what he showed me was like looking like a smaller sativa plant with some trait, a bit of some indica or skunk, whatever that have been bring there, but there was still a lot of that old style Jamaican plant, if I can say. And he said that's when his early travel in the 90s, and by the end of the 90s, it was already starting to have some White Widow and other type of thing that had won the Cannabis Cup in 95, 96. And they were already starting to change a lot of things in early 2000. He was starting to have people asking him if he wanted to buy some White Widow or Blueberry, and he was looking at them like, I'm not traveling up to here to smoke the same thing and then at home. And then he realized, oh yeah, but their main market is the tourist, and the tourists want most of the time they would say they would like to get the tropical variety, but no, they don't. They will buy the big name that they are used to buy at home.
So this part, you can see the older plants here. These are all on week 3, so they're pulling all the tallest plants, 'cause those are the males, and then just leaving the females behind. So these have all been picked or are in the process of being picked for the males.
So was there a opportunity? Sorry if it's a dumb question, but was there any opportunity that they might have gotten a few females that actually had like hybrid vigor? But
Yeah, I
it's
mean
kind
they definitely pull a couple of females, but most of them, they're like 97% male or whatever.
Yeah, because they're trying to tower over so they can drop pollen.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, there's really two time where the male will be taller and when it's early like that and when they start to flower.
Yeah, because I've seen some where I really like the way the leaves are and the structure and shit. I'm like, fuck, you're getting taller. But I waited it out and I'm like, oh, you're a chick. Fucking A right. You're
Yeah,
taller
it
now.
was just a healthy one. Yeah.
And
I
this
know
was in
what you mean.
Thailand. This was
Look at that burp.
more
It's really
equatorial cultivars, but this was much less Western influence. You'll see the plants are much bigger. This one was
yeah,
cool
but
though. That all the purple ones like this were real small, real short.
yeah, it doesn't look like the pure Thai on that one, right?
No, you can see they're like black. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bump the mic. Some of them are like
Yeah, we
black.
see the small one there.
Yeah.
But they are a cute plant.
Is there still spots there, Steve, in Thailand that there might be some feral cannabis, or has it all been like,
Oh yeah.
okay,
Yeah, there's not a ton of places, but you definitely see some, there's your more traditional this is mostly mango. Most of these are just mango Thai.
Which is already good.
And you got
How
some
good you
phenotypic
describe
variation in them.
would you say it's one of the good one or
You can see like this one just fried. You got some of them don't make it.
you see that's always I think there's some look to that Malalumbi madness. Those two plant in the end of the row. Oh yeah, there's one completely fry.
yeah, fist for
Yeah.
that's
They are
cool.
6 months from seeds, or they are
Uh,
longer.
I don't know what the I think these were. I don't remember.
But I
I don't
mean,
remember.
complete the crop to do that in 6 months
Well, these were
for
all
those
just
Thai.
planted and run, so these were just. I don't think they veg these at all.
Oh, it was just straight seed and
Seed
then
to
let it.
finish, yeah. Because it's just
Yeah,
12-12 in Thailand. There's no.
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like when they start to see that and doesn't interfere with the Thai strain. From what I remember,
Well,
some of
so
them are taking more than 6 months
a
to
lot of the
complete.
Thai, you see this a lot with the equatorials. They'll have a minimum veg time, right? And this is
Yeah.
common with a lot of the Thais, and definitely with some of the Zimbabwe genetics I worked with, where they have a minimum veg time of like 3 or 4 months before they're gonna flip. Even if you put them under 12-12, they don't give a shit.
Look at that
You know.
massive flower.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So like it. So would you consider that a good trait or a bad trait?
Well, it's good and bad, right? It's fine if you're doing moms and then you're gonna like veg them out and then you're just taking because once the genetics hit that age, right? It's like a fruit tree that's fruiting, right? Once you pass that limit, then the clones, are gonna fruit pretty quickly unless you veg them out. But
Yeah, because that sounds to me like a kind of a interesting trait where it's just like no matter what you put it in. So if you did a clone cut, does it still have those traits, or like once you have your mother and she's been there for 3 months, then you're pushing past the threshold of it waiting to flower?
yeah, so if you take a clone and then veg it, it'll flower right away as long as the mother parent stock is the same. It's the same way as if you're gonna do fruit trees, if you have a fruit apple tree, or citrus tree or whatever that's already producing fruit, and you graft a branch to root, that's gonna have the age of the parent stock and will fruit that first year versus having to wait 7 years or 4 years or whatever the fruit variety is. It's the
Okay, yeah,
same thing, right? So you're just doing it on a monthly scale instead of a yearly scale. So once
makes
you
sense.
pass that threshold, then it's no problem.
And there
Uh,
was, oh, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the different pheno in that greenhouse, and while you still have those really long spike of flower that look like a spear, that some of them are shorter. I look at those big one, and some of them, even if they look a bit naked like that, the flower to leaf ratio is really high. And it's one of those things that you may think, oh yeah, it's really long flowering, but some of those phenotype doesn't have that much leaf in it at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are really naked.
Yeah.
So very little manipulation to do like are they just grown out naturally basically? Like there's
Yeah,
no
those are not touched
Yeah,
at all, I guess.
they're big. They're big leafing them a few times, but that's about it. And what they sell it, so there's like they have a little cafe next to this, and they like cook the leaves and they sell the leaves and they deep fry them and they cook them like spinach and they eat the
What?
leaves.
Do
Yeah.
they make smoothies with them?
I've never, well, I take it back. I have seen smoothies in Bangkok, yeah, but they eat that like all the time in soups or like just in normal dinner stuff. Yeah, there's some of that green spoon genetic. Um, I've seen that a couple times out there too, where you have those like chains of calyxes like that.
Yeah,
That's
that
pretty
one is.
cool.
Yeah. And you look at how it's going into pearl at the end.
Yeah.
they're putting the leaves on like pizzas and everything, huh?
Yep.
Cannabis leaf and purple Thai basil. Yeah,
I didn't
you
get
can
to see
cook them
any of
together.
the leaves on food. Boo.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need
especially like in the village, like in villages, like out off the beaten path, it was a little more common. And in fact, our next door neighbor used to like dry them and eat them and sell them and stuff. But I would bring her like, I would take a whole giant grocery bag full and just dump, or trash bag and just fill it up and give it to her like every couple days because we had more fucking leaves than we knew. We had 20,000 plants, so we had plenty of leaves to go around for everyone.
Did you guys make compost with those leaves at all?
Oh yeah, we made FPJs and all kinds of shit,
Yeah.
compost and no, I think
Yeah,
they buy some of it and burn it too for like cooking. We had like a pizza slash outdoor oven, and I know they would burn it sometimes in there. Make your weed come out, or like your pizza would come out and it would smell like weed.
Damn, I wish I was there when you were there. That would have been way cooler than the situation I was in.
Well, so you could make fucking cantilever logs, like a Yule log,
Bricks.
compress your leaves, and then you'd have like Duraflame logs made out of cantilevers.
So this is one of the other homies. This guy was like right around the corner from me, and they had a weed and kratom farm. So that's like
yeah,
a
the
younger
kratom there.
kratom plant.
Did
A
you
lot of people.
drink any kratom when you were there?
Yeah, and I've had kratom in the States before too. But yeah, it's all right. I don't know. I don't take it too much, but if you
It
have a
didn't do
bad day and you're in
anything.
pain, it's not too bad. Those are all kratom trees. So they grow the kratom trees to kind of give a little bit of a light, a bit of a heat break for the plants. It shades them a little bit. And then they harvest the leaves like every 3 or 4 months. I forget how
Of the
many
kratom?
days. Yeah, of the kratom, yeah. All those bigger leaf plants are kratom.
Wild.
As the dry seasons are a little bit yellow.
Yeah, I love they just sell it like on the corner and everywhere.
Yeah. That and Lao Cow. I don't know if you had a chance to try the Lao Cow when you were out there.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it anywhere.
Oh, really? It's in like
No,
every corner store. It's what all the old men sit around and drink.
I didn't see it.
This is all different Thai varieties, Thai crosses.
Yeah, one thing that I've always enjoyed with those thin leaf variety is that the sun go in. When you get those short plant with really fat leaf and they are too bushy, sure people will have to defoliate them because they kind of choke themselves. They cannot branch out properly if you don't remove a couple of big leaf to get some air and sun into that. But they are planned for the desert. You know, it's a place where there's a lot of wind and it's really high altitude, and they try to stay low to the soil. I don't know. But the Thai is variety with the thin leaf and the big branching. Yeah, it may be harder in a small tent to get that kind of thing. I can picture that after the few picture last week we were showing of the temple Thai, that it's just thread into itself till it looked like a normal plant, but there's like 2, 3 circle of branch before.
Yeah. There's another dude who's growing one full height in his greenhouse, and it's like almost at the top of his tall greenhouse. It's pretty funny. So like, I don't know. I hope it stops stretching.
Yeah, one guy that I've known, he had a variety that was quite long flowering, but he was happy for the variety because it wasn't branching out too much before it started to flower. It was just like doing a bit like those long spare that you've shown in the greenhouse, and he had some seeds from the same region after that, thinking that they could be the same type of things, but no, they were those super tall plants that were starting to flower a lot later on. And he was quite confused in his small tunnel when he realized that he had to remove the plastic of that tunnel on that part because the plants were just going through. He tied them on the ground when they were like 5 feet tall before they start to. That tunnel was like maybe 6 feet, and when if tie them down before they finish to flower, they've reached 8 feet tall again. So it was like, man, it's like 15 feet about that tall. I was like, man, that thing is too tall, and it wasn't finishing over here. It was just like barely finishing the seeds, but not really making any nice flower, if I can say. They would have need like a good 2 other months. And the funny part is if we get some Thai variety over here, they start to flower in September. And they barely start to flower in September, so you cannot get anything in a month and a half of flowering after that. Just the frost start to slow them down a bit too much, but there's some tropical place where the plant have been adapted to really colder environment, and I was looking in some tropical environment where there is still frost and snow, and it makes some sense with, okay, some of those plants, let's say maybe they come from Nepal and they already had that ability and they've been bring at the nice sweet spot where, yeah, it's still cold, but it's a tropical environment. It's cold just few months in the year, I think. 2 months, something like that. They may have some snow and a bit of frost, but nothing bad. But yeah, I always find it interesting to see those frost-resistant tropical variety because most of those will just stop to flower when they start to be too cold at night. They like more equal temperature for the whole flowering. Did you see more of those really green spoon-like, really pearl-shaped stuff when it was a dry season, or was there like a really difference of morphology
Seems
in
like
the
it's
season?
always when it's hot. I've seen it a couple times, and it's always hot, the hottest season, whatever it is.
Yeah. I've seen something like really more humid or really hot, but also, when people were using the HPS, there was a lot of those picture when the plant was a bit too close of the light, and it was starting to do all those kind of foxtailing, really strange.
I think I'm kind of fading, guys.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
don't
we
want to do
start to
the
be late.
Irish goodbye, so I figured I would say nice chatting. I'll catch you
Lovely
soon.
having
I was
Cheers.
gonna
Yeah,
say,
thank you.
I goodbye for me because I'm driving down the hill from Telluride to Montrose, so I might cut out, but I was just listening. But have a good night.
Well, probably time to shut it down then. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
I think
we're
so.
late.
it was a
Oh
good
no,
episode. It
I'm
was nice having everybody.
sorry. I'm sorry.
That's
No,
all
it's
right.
about that time. We usually
I
wrap
have
up
to be at the
around.
farm bright and early, so I'm already like, it's 11.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing the evening with us. That was awesome.
Yeah, I made like a whole soup and frickin' did all the dishes, and this was great. This was like I got really motivated just listening and chiming in. I was like, sweet, like I can just get stuff done and hang out.
All right.
Definitely
Have a
feel
good
free to come
night.
back. We're definitely looking for more regular people for the show. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll check in. I get shy sometimes. That's all. But
Just just start talking about your cultivars and that'll break the ice.
yeah.
Got enough plants to talk about this season, right?
Yeah, too many. It's kind of, I think I just get like frozen because it's mildly overwhelming. People are like, "What do you have in production?" And I'm just like, you know, like a few acres of this and that. Somebody the other day though, they called me a ranch. They were like, "Oh, so you grow ranch weed?" And I was just like, "Oh my God." I was like, "It's not like that. Like it's not like that at all."
it's cage
Don't,
free
don't,
weed.
don't you think you helped the
Cage-free.
government to get more docile population by growing enough weed to keep them calm?
Yeah, totally.
Fuck yeah. That's great.
Well, anyways, I'll catch you all soon.
Peace.
Have a good night.
Cheers.